thank you for doing this, by the way, Matt.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
Glad to.
I really appreciate it.
I listen in Utah. It kind of keeps me in touch with home, you know?
Dude, your drone footage is excellent, man.
Thank you.
I love watching that.
It's funny because I've been doing it without my license for like...
Wait, you have to have a drone license?
Yeah, you have to have a license. So the deal is, you can fly as a hobbyist or whatever without a license. But if you want to do commercial work, so if I want to get paid for this, like if I want to make money working for film sets or sell footage to commercials or something like that,
Right.
then I have to have a license from the FAA that kind of indicates that like I know what I'm doing.
You're,
so I'm
you're not just not a drone terrorist.
Yeah, hey, I'm gonna fly this right into an airplane. You know, it's like you'd be surprised how easy it is, though. Like that's like sometimes I just like sit outside the airport and I think about it, and it's like, man, dude, you fuck something up with that. Like,
there's a friend of mine, Justin, who he I think now he just teaches for the military, but for a while for the Navy, he was an air traffic controller. He was talking about this is the most stressful thing you can imagine.
They used to have like one of the highest like suicide rates I think like in most any profession, especially like I imagine in like the mid '90s in like the era of like woo, like super everything's awesome.
Oh yeah,
capitalism's prime when everyone is traveling for business, and I mean it's a lot more planes now, but like still technology's increased more now. It used to be more so like there was more of an analog aspect to it that I think required a controller to be like so plugged in at all times.
Right, I can see that. I always find people that they'll do like the Back to the Future Part 2 comparison. At least they did in 2015, you know. And they're like, man, we still don't have flying cars
Blade
yet.
Runner.
Yeah. It's like, man, if you all think for a second that after 9/11 they're going to give a thumbs up on cars in the sky, got another thing coming.
It's like, dude, you know, people like run out of gas. Like,
yeah. What are you gonna do with like your magnetic converter?
I know
We were talking about at work today. I know this has nothing to do with drones, but I mean, whatever. But we were talking at work today about with me, every time I board a plane, I already commit to the idea of like, well, this is how I die.
I know.
Like, so that way, every time I safely land at the airport, I'm just like, oh, thank you, Lord, another day to live, another day to appreciate it. Yeah. But a coworker was like, well, if you look at like road travel, the danger is much more clearly there as far as deaths, accidents. I'm like yeah, I totally agree. It's like a couple things. It's like, one, you can survive an accident in a car.
It's a higher survival rate of accidents.
A plane, much smaller. Much smaller survival rate. Plus, I was like, now think about how much traffic is on the road. Now imagine if all that traffic is in the sky. Yeah. I don't think the comparison would hold up at all. Like you just imagine you're just sitting, chilling at home, eating Thanksgiving dinner, and then a fucking Honda Accord just falls through your roof and in the living room. Everybody's fine, you're in another room, but
out in the open it'd be fine, but like people be hitting trees and everything.
Oh yeah.
People on planes, I love it. Like when you get in some bad turbulence and everyone's like panicking so much, and it's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, I mean,
just ride it out.
Yeah, I mean, what the fuck are you gonna do?
Hands up, dude. We're in it. Like, it's like a roller coaster at that point.
My dad, he told me that whenever he came back from the Gulf War, he was over there for a little more than 6 months, and he flew from like Germany to I want to say Charlotte, maybe it was New York, but from Charlotte he flew into West Virginia. It's where I grew up at, and so he gets off of this fairly large plane and gets on like this 15-seater shitter commuter plane to fly in this small mountain town, and he said that they hit turbulence on the way back, and then out of nowhere they just started free falling like for like 30 seconds. I mean, he's like, oh, son of a bitch! Like, I survived war, and people with explosives and bullets and all this, and now I'm gonna
Like the way down, you wouldn't even be phased by the fact that your plane's flying. You'd just be like seething mad. I'm like, motherfucker, this is the way I'm going.
Yeah.
In this plane crash. It's
Exactly.
the littler planes though. Those are the fucking deadly ones, dude.
Dude, like
I'll
they're
only fly
fucking
on,
scary, man.
I'll never fly in a Cessna. Or like a helicopter. I think helicopters are super dope, but like...
My only experience is from Grand Theft Auto with helicopters, and they're not that easy to fly.
Yeah, they're hard to fly.
It's like you have to get up high enough to where you can, what would that be? The Z-axis, so you can tilt like the helicopter forward, and then it'll start, gaining momentum and moving forward. Blows my mind.
Yeah, but that's like with the drone, the FAA certification. I mean, it's basically just like knowledge about, like, you can't fly your drone over 400 feet above ground level. So that's wherever you're at. So, like, for instance, if I'm on a top of a skyscraper or a building that's like 600 feet high, I can fly up to 400 feet above that because that counts as my ground level from where I'm taking out. So if I'm flying around like structures or things like that, as long as my takeoff point's there, and I think it's like 300 meters around the outside of it. So you kind of have to know those things. You have to have like a certain visibility, like 3 statute miles. They kind of want you to be able to know some of the terminology. So like if you were flying in a populated area, then you could navigate it if you had like a radio or something.
Now, are the rules different in like in the outskirts and more rural areas? Because I see some of the footage you have, and I'm just like, God damn, dude, it looks like a fucking nature show.
Yeah, because it depends. Like, so you have different airspaces. So like your major airports are going to have a bigger airspace, and your smaller regional ones don't go up as high in ceiling. There's a large blanketing area that's like Class E airspace, and that's pretty much like fair game. So and the only places you really have to watch out for, sometimes there's like restricted areas, but they'll be like military operation areas,
Which that makes sense.
but you can fly in. You just have to like watch out because sometimes they fly low and they're never like planned or scripted light flights to come in. So it's kind of like just be aware.
I also have a feeling that if the military shot down your drone, they would not reimburse you.
No. Well, they're talking about making the FAA law where all drones have to have an internet receiver on them, and they have to be able to transmit a wireless signal so that they can track where they are at all time. And like everybody's pissed about it because it's going to make like thousands of drones that people have already bought like obsolete. My drone would be obsolete unless I bought like a separate transceiver or something for it.
Right.
And DJI already makes one because all of them have like a RFID like radio chip in them, so they can use this device they sell to police departments and stuff. They can still scan and know where they are. The FAA is just trying to make it more complicated and throw this regulations and stuff on it. So,
well, what
it's
are
an
your
iffy market. That's kind of the hard thing right now.
what are your thoughts on that as far as
I don't like
adding advanced tracking systems on it?
I
Aside from
I don't feel like there are enough. So they cite threats like they worry about people flying them into things at airports, and they worry about like terrorists using them for payloads and stuff like that. But it's like those things aren't as common. Those issues aren't happening. You don't have a ton of people flying their drones in the planes and stuff. So I don't think it's as big of an issue. And there are other ways to track those. I mean, you can put up signal jammers. So like on movie sets, like Game of Thrones, they had and Star Wars, especially Star Wars, when they were filming it, because they did a lot on live set, they had these jamming towers set up so that they would kill electronics that come in. Like hundreds of people lost drones because it would just kill the signal and the drone would fall and die, and they couldn't find it, couldn't get it because it was
so it's like an EMP tower or something?
It's like a blocking. This is like a signal jammer, so it'll cut off signal so it won't communicate to the remote.
Okay.
Yeah. And then eventually so it won't communicate to the remote, and then the drone just gets in the zone. It doesn't know what to do. Some of them have return technology, but if they're jammed and don't know where the remote is, they may not go back to it. But otherwise, it just sit there and hover and then die and fall. So there are things they can do, around airports and stuff. They could definitely emit signal blocking towers. But then you run into all the signals that they block. So you may be blocking cell phones, maybe blocking like Wi-Fi for other apps and like things that use them.
Yeah, the whatever specific bandwidth they're using. And I was talking with someone recently that whenever America made the switch to was it high def on like a television, so there's this bandwidth of I guess a satellite transmission that was no longer needed because it didn't have the capability of transmitting the data anyway, right? So they shut it down, and whenever they shut it down, parts of the sky became more visible than they were before. And I was explaining to them, it's because the amplitude of the frequency from those satellite dishes or whatever transmitters that were putting the signal out, the amplitude in relation to our location was much greater than what the stars or hole in the firmament, whatever you want to believe in, that would be visible to us. So it's the same thing with like audio, and you're mixing it. If like you're starting to have like stuff in the like your low end like is not getting enough punch through, well, you don't start bringing up everything in the low end. You got to start cutting some of those frequencies. So then once you cut like the lower frequencies of like one instrument that you don't want having low end, now those other instruments fill that gap. It's the same way with what would you call it? Telecommunications, modern telecommunications, I guess. Yeah. What do you think about the 5G stuff?
Man, I don't know, because I know some people that are like full-on believers that it's the government testing some weapon on us that's going to give us all cancer and like do mind control and like all this crazy stuff. Like somebody was saying something about like Wuhan being near towers, and there was like signs of radiation sickness at first. It's like people were getting kind of like weirded out by 5G. But like also, I don't know, I feel like we don't study it enough where it's like, oh, there's this technology, but it's like, those signals are going through somewhere. And even like, I mean, all x-rays are light waves, they're radio signals in a huge broad spectrum. Even the radio signals we listen to and interpret are like, they're all on the same different frequencies and wavelengths. So you can see that. And like x-rays, like they go through. People don't realize that, but it's like going like straight through, and it's bouncing back off the plate they put behind it.
Right.
And it's like people don't realize how they actually do work, because it's a refraction of that. So there's definitely some signal coming in. 4G, I don't know if it's worse than 4G, but I've also heard that like you can transfer like power and stuff through a 5G wireless signal. So I don't know enough about it to have like an informed opinion.
That's kind of where I'm at with it as well. And I've also heard the stuff about Wuhan. You've been hearing a lot of crazy stuff that's been going on with China.
Coronavirus.
I mean, the president had been talking about for a while, but he's so hyperbolic that you kind of have to take everything he says with a healthy amount of salt. Yeah. You know what I mean? But when South Park talked about it, South Park, Trey Parker and Matt Stone were the only two heavyweights in media that put out a big, bold middle finger to China, and at the same time informed Americans like, hey, we know we're doing satire and parody here, but this country is doing really foul stuff. And it's not the people that live in the country, it's the government of that country.
Well, it's like even Joe Rogan was talking about it, and he's just like, dude, Matt Parker and Trey Stone, like, they're two guys with enough clout. They don't give a shit.
No.
They don't need money at this point. Like, they don't care. They can just be like, middle finger to you.
They don't even need South Park at this point. They continue making South Park because it's South Park, and the ideals that it represents are bigger than themselves, and I think that it's also a you could take that philosophical outlook on it, and you could apply it in another manner to say that the art and the artist are independent of each other, yet they are also somewhat dependent on each other. You know what I mean? Like creatives, we need an outlet to make something our own.
Well, it's like there's always been like forms like of like parody and satire making fun of like socioeconomic problems and go like back to like the old newspaper eras, like the early 1800s, and they'd sketch out, like the big bourgeoisie guy, and the little illustrations that jabbed at it. So it's like, I think that's always been a good way of like communicating. It's some of their things are a lot more like blunt and in your face, like, and some things are a lot more subtle. Like my friend's dad, he watched the TSA episode for the first time, the Toilet Association.
Check your asshole, sir.
And he's never like been a fan of South Park, and he's like, I don't know, in his 70s, he's older, and he called my friend. He's like, dude, I just watched that episode of South Park. And he's like, man, those guys are on it. And then so he just started like watching them all. And now he gets all the references and stuff, and it's funny because people are always, I'm talking to him and I'll throw out some South Park quote, and like nobody ever gets it because they haven't seen as much. It's like, man, there's some relevant South Park quote everywhere, almost as much so as like The Simpsons. Like you can find something that compares.
Well, I think one thing that really sets South Park apart is the canon of the story and the characters themselves. Yeah. So from the pilot episode, everything within the universe that essentially Matt Stone and Trey Parker and South Park Studios have created is all relevant to the story. So, like, even the movie, the musical, is a part of the show's canon. Yeah. The two RPG video games are also part of the show's canon. Yeah. And with The Simpsons, you have that, I think, up to the first 10 years, and then it's just like, well, The Simpsons are, every week is something different.
Yeah.
And with South Park, it's not like that. So, like, when, for example, it's kind of got Game of Thrones quality to it. Even, so far they made parodies off of, Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and fantasy culture. But when a character dies in South Park, they're dead. Unless they are Kenny or Jesus. Yeah. They're the only characters, because Jesus has the power of resurrection. Yeah. He's a superhero.
And
Kenny's cursed. Yeah. His parents went to a Cthulhu cult and somehow made a deal that like Kenny can never die. And they never went too far into it. I think personally what could be is that they lost other children or something happened, and they wanted to have a deal where like they want a son that would never die, and that they wouldn't have to go through that again. And the evil power granted them this wish, but in order to satisfy it would make the child prone to death, but come back to life the next day, and nobody but the parents and Kenny remember it. Yeah. I
wonder if that came to them like after so long. They're like, how do we explain this now? Or if like from the start they had that in mind, because they kill him off from like the start. Like every episode he dies.
Yeah, until in the fifth season they have they did a parody of you remember like 90s and 80s sitcoms where it'd be like, on a very special Full House, and it'd be like like DJ finds a gun in Uncle Jesse's sock drawer. DJ, put it down. And it's like it goes to black and white and like very tense orchestral music. Tune in on a special 1-hour season premiere Tuesday at 9.
I miss those.
Must be.
Miss those days. The 90 nostalgia days. I feel like, but I mean, it goes back to South Park with the member berries thing, and it was such a huge like nail on the head with like how our culture is, which is like we're stuck in the days when we were kids and everything was good and everything's fine and we didn't have to worry about all these problems. We weren't all in debt and dealing with the bullshit, and we weren't as aware of these things. It was just like, you want to go get some Mattel hotspot like match toys? I'm like, yeah, whatever, give me all these toys. And like we're like, Nerf Super Blasters, like everything was good. Like MTV still played music videos. Like we look back on that, and now life's just fucking drama and bickering and infighting. And
well, if you look at like a lot of the, before unpack that, until the fifth season of South Park, they have a very special South Park, and Kenny dies, and like it's not a happy episode at all. Like the whole episode is like Stan he's scared because it makes him think about his own mortality, So he doesn't want to go see Kenny die in the hospital, and he finally gets the balls to do it, and then Kenny's dead. He didn't get to see him. And then the only release is at the very end. Cartman, who had been working for stem cell research to get legalized so he could find a way to help Kenny, has fulfilled his ulterior motive of cloning a Shakey's Pizza next door to a Shakey's Pizza. So he uses the guise of his friend dying and then being like so upset and getting something legalized where everyone's like, yes, that's the moral thing to do, and then doing something malicious with it, and then he doesn't give a shit that Kenny's dead. But what was the thing I said? Let's unpack.
The member berries and 90s nostalgia.
Oh yeah. So
because they all get drunk on town and like the member berry wine, dude. They're just like, oh yeah, I remember,
90s nostalgia, right? So we were born into it. You get older and you're able to look historically at things that happened before we existed, right?
Yeah.
And you see this thing. Operation Mockingbird. It was a program the CIA had that they had people on their payroll in news and in television that were there to more or less influence opinions, right? MTV came out before you or I were born, but it was used to now take music, which they had used to influence culture before, the hippie movement. It was not an organic uprising like CIA and intelligence was in there pushing certain ideas forward. But Project Mockingbird or Operation Mockingbird, on the long run, you can see it. Now it's reached its apex, right? Or at least its first crest in the fake news era. So you see a lot of people that have woken up to not necessarily saying like news is fake, which I kind of think it is, but not to paint everybody with my opinion or anything, but that there's programming with it, right? So if you look back to at 90s culture, when you had a lot, you look at something like the rise of alternative rock and alternative hip hop that came up through the 90s, and then you start seeing EDM like rising up through the 90s. You start seeing CGI start rising up through the 90s in film, with Jurassic Park taking the first step, and then The Matrix in 99 closing out the 90s with, hey, we can also take it a step other than just a quote-unquote fantasy. The Matrix started tying in like philosophy as well. And I mean, the red pill movement, though conservative America, they're like, hell yeah, red pills. Like, it's not just you. It was a color before it was a color of a political party, sir. But this term red pill comes from where the truth is harsh. It's like waking up. Like when people say like oh, stay woke nowadays, they're most of them, they're still referring to programming that's put out to them by media. So I think you see in the 90s where we grew up, it hadn't reached the goal yet as far as for them to get to where they wanted to. And I think something like Jeffrey Epstein now being declared, committing suicide, really woke a lot of people up. And it was the straw that broke the camel's back on Operation Mockingbird. And you see in the 90s, while this is going on, you also start seeing the glamorization of violence with the G-Funk and gangster rap movement, with hardcore music had started to infiltrate into a lot more of a hate group ideologies.
When did Iowa come out? It was like early 2000s, right?
I think Iowa came out in 2000.
Yeah, 2000.
Slipknot,
so it's like right
album.
on the cartels of that. Like.
Yeah, but Slipknot, self-titled album, that came out like in 99, 98 or 99.
Yeah, I think
you
it
know,
was 98, yeah.
you know what I mean? So like you see these things in it where, and don't get me wrong, like I like all those genres of music,
But it
and
was
like I
there
love
wasn't any-
Slipknot.
But there wasn't anything like that. And like when Slipknot came out, like no matter who you are, that shit sounded violent.
Yeah,
That's why we loved it. Like,
especially when you're a
fucking
pubescent kid,
people
man.
equal shit and fucking wait and bleed, and it was just like, you know. But then all the shit like Combine and all that, and it's like easy for there's all these little correlations and media, and it's all crazy.
Yeah, what is fucked up is that I think the people, and they're mostly from the right, that say they'll use the argument for video game violence and music violence and movie violence, and everyone's just like, get fucked for the most part, which on the basis of the First Amendment, which I am very pro First Amendment, I totally agree with them. Get fucked. Like if you don't like it, don't watch it. If you're that concerned with it, don't let your children like glamorize it or rebel against it and fetishize it whenever they are pubescent. You know what I mean? Talk to your children. But at the same time, I also agree with them in a way that it does influence like people to do stuff. Now, I'm not saying that is or should be a scapegoat for something like Columbine, where they try to use like Marilyn Manson and Nine Inch Nails and Doom and firearms to try to blame what those two
But
bastards
that comes down to
did.
the parents at that point. Like you should be aware of your kids, and you should know like. If you're that disconnected with your kids that you can't see like trouble signs and warning signs, it's like I think at a certain point that's the responsibility of the parents, not the video games, not the TV, not the violence. Like they in essence have to be some form of a censor and some way to like explain to the children that are intaking this like, hey, like this is fantasy, this is not real. Like you have to differentiate that, because I think some people don't get that message, and I've met people like that, and it's like crazy. It's like, how did you not put these two together? Like this fantasy world, because I mean some people think they're like real life no shit like Duke Nukem, like tons of guns, and I love guns and stuff, but some people I'm like, bro, there's a limit.
Well, I listened to someone, I think it was this guy named Bishop. He was on the tinfoil hat with Sam Tripoli. I can't remember though, but he was talking about how a lot of I guess you would the modern equivalent of gangster rappers, though it's not technically rap music anymore, but I mean it's still hip hop influence.
Yeah.
But that promote like this idea of like the fuck the police notion, right? Which, just to clarify, fuck authoritarianism. But like fuck the police is a very important song in American arts, like without a doubt. But at the same time, so you see now like where like gang culture has become so normalized, right? That where like this idea of like hey, like doing violence and stealing from your neighborhood is a good thing, or not raising your children with both parents involved and like looking like to break up the family, like these ideas are like promoted in the music, right? And like we're in our 30s, so we're able to look at things sort of objectively a hell of a lot better than we were 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Let alone 5 years ago. But I think that it's complicated, right? So like the argument of like, well, if they are causing this damage, which I think it is damaging, like on the long run, but I don't think government needs to get fucking involved with it, like to start putting a limit on stuff. But what is fucked up, I think about like the video game argument aspect of it, like which because that the music doesn't engross you like a video game does, So I think about where VR is going. And
I've talked to people that played VR games. Like there's one, and it's like cartoonish and fun, but it's still It's like you're in a coliseum and you're like hacking and slashing up all these big gronky like gladiators that are coming at you. And some guy was talking in an interview about how he played it for like, you know, he spent like 6 hours playing it, and like it was fun, it was enjoyable, but it gave him a very like disassociated feeling with like killing people. Like he didn't feel like as like he said it like triggered something in him that he was like, okay, man, this is weird. Like I'm feeling way too comfortable in this killing motion.
Right.
But I think that's animal instinct. Like we want to be past that, but even like the most civilized person probably wants to fucking bash someone's head in with a vase someday.
I mean, it's in all of us.
It's,
you know. But so, I could see that because I think it's serotonin that like when it's like abnormally high, like, you know, like you just had 400 orgasms at the same time, you know, like you want to do harm to others, like, and it's weird for me to even like wrap my head around that like this I guess chemical that's like in us that's released from like, you know, having an orgasm, or like was it dark chocolate will also release some like serotonin in your brain, but that if it's too much of it, like that you can get dissociated, and then like, you know, you don't care about anything. That's arguably some of the mass shooters that were on like certain types of drugs or SSRIs, like that they just took so much to where they didn't care.
I think a lot of it comes to the point where they feel so disassociated with things that's like, oh wait, maybe if I shoot a bunch of people, I'll feel something. Yeah, you know. And I think sometimes a lot of cases that's it. I don't think it's like, you know, like what happened I guess recently in, was it Michigan at the Coors plant? Like that dude was just mad.
He got
fired, came back, snapped. But it's like that's a big commentary on the state of things in like our country, because like, I mean, I've experienced it just being out in like Utah with some of the hardships and stuff I've gone through. But it's like, I mean, most people are like 2 or 3 missed checks away from like not having a place to live and losing everything they have.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, I can get that because that guy's probably in that boat and he's like, ooh, I'm gonna be homeless or whatever. It's like, could have been, you know, it's like society has us all put into such a corner, and kind of like with that 90s nostalgia, because things aren't as good, but we got so used to like, so when we grew up, you know, like back in the day, people had to like, they kind of had to wait for things. You had to wait for stuff to come in the mail. You got like a Sears catalog in the mail, and you'd call and you'd place an order.
Right.
Or, you know, and
Columbia House Records.
Yeah, and there wasn't, you know, like you had to wait for the Scholastic Books Fair to come to school. And you know, there are all these things that, like, they took time, they took patience. But as things changed and emerged, it's like, you know, we had fast food restaurants and stuff, but they weren't to the point they are now. It's like you get a burger, you get a taco, whatever.
Yeah.
Now you go to Taco Bell, and it's like, do you want the fucking taco, the burrito, the double Guadalajara Chibuco crunch, like whatever, you know? You have like so many options, and everything's available. And if you don't want to eat from the shit from Taco Bell, it's like you can go across the street from Wendy's and get a hamburger, or, oh fuck it, you want a baked potato, or, you know, you just want all this shit. So we're so used to like, and that's why I call it like fast food culture, because like it's instant gratification, it's endless options, and you don't have to wait or work for any of it, because it's like someone else does it and it's like, oh, here you go, cool, it's instant. And I think that it's permeated into our culture with our way of thinking. That's why nobody looks at anything objectively and takes the time to like critically analyze it and think of things. It affects our relationships, because nobody's fucking happy with what they have. It's like, I don't want to fucking, you know, a double bacon cheeseburger is delicious and you can love it every day, but you know, some days you want to fucking...
The problem with the burger is it never kisses me back.
Yeah, I know. But sometimes you want the cheesy fucking bacon burrito. Yeah. You know, and it's like, well, what do you do if you committed to your fucking hamburger? You're going to cheat on it with the fucking burrito, and then your fucking hamburger's going to be sad, but you're going to fuck it up. You're going to be like, man, I wish I still had my hamburger. But it's like, nobody works for these things, because...
They should have like a Tinder for fast food. Oh, man. You know, like fast food delivery.
What are you matching with today? You know, like...
I just match with mashed potatoes. So it's like you always match with mashed pototatoes.
And it's like, if you're still hungry, like you can match with people. Oh, here's Susan. She wants Taco Bell now too. Boom. Be kind of creepy, I think. But I don't know. I think that's one of the most frustrating things because not many people are like aware of it.
Well,
sometimes I feel like I'm standing on a mountain like screaming, especially dating these days.
Oh, dude,
like,
I was just about to say fast food culture has definitely permeated into
well, that's what Tinder is.
Dating.
I mean, I'm
dating apps, man.
Because I'm a slut, but like, I mean, still on Tinder. I still use it. Like, I'm a victim of society. I mean, but only because like I have to, or I'm just like lost in it.
Right.
You know, like you're if you're not in, I hate Facebook, I hate social media, but like if you're not engaged in it and plugged in, nobody knows shit about you. Nobody knows who you are, and you don't have those networks to meet those people. It's like,
yeah.
Like, I don't go to the bars and pick up chicks. I fucking hate bars.
Yeah, like, I'm not a fan at all.
Yeah. Like I want to pick up chicks from the comfort of my living room. Like, so I'm like, if I don't want to leave my fucking house. Like, I
don't have to put on pants to be on Bumble.
I know.
I got blacklisted from Tinder. Somebody reported my Tinder fail my Tinder fail blog I had on Instagram, and they banned me from my device, my phone number, and my Facebook account.
Oh.
So if I banned. Yeah, so they said I violated their guidelines, which I mean they may be right, you know, in it.
Isn't there another Tinder fails on like?
Well, I mean, I use Bumble, but it does, like, dating in your 30s is by this point, like, you know what kind of man you are, and you know like what you want and what you don't like and what you like and all this stuff. And I personally like it when I can match wits with a woman rhetorically, like. I dig that. Like, I like communicating. I mean, obviously, I got a fucking podcast. You know what I mean? Like, so I like that. You know, and I like talking about ideas, and I like it in the written form as well. And if it doesn't matter how cute a girl is, if she's boring and got no brains, my dick is just not interested. It's riding shotgun nowadays, and the balls where the thinking goes on, they're in the driver's seat. That's how you can tell you really like as like a dude. I don't know how it is for ladies, but I'm sure it's the same way with gay dudes. Like when you see your partner that you're just like you got the hots for it, you feel it in your balls, man. Like, yeah,
it's like deeper than the dick.
Yeah. The dick is just the liaison. He's just happy because he knows he is needed.
Like the dick's in on him. I mean, he's got backup. He's like, hey, yes, but yes.
You gotta tell the dick. I have to tell my dick, like, hey, calm down. You're not impressive anyway. You know, like you're. It's like dick by default.
Dating's been hard though, because like after my whole ordeal, the bullshit I went through moving out there with some girl I wanted to marry, that's just like I don't want to be with you anymore. After like not sacrifice, but I put a lot on the line, and then like it just made
you did sacrifice a lot though, because you sacrificed what any aspirations you would have had here without her. You sacrificed that to try something new and take a risk. But
it's made me like...
It made you who you are, man.
Yeah, I know, that's true. It's like I'm glad for the adversity, because I know people that have like never would have taken that jump or taken that leap. They still haven't left this place, and they're like stuck in those same old ways, and like haven't had to struggle, because it's been fucking hard, dude. It hasn't been easy, because I didn't know anybody in Salt Lake, so I had to make every connection, everything that I've gotten to is like, you know, I've met people and networked for, but it was like I had nothing, like zero. So I'm more attached to it because it's like, hey, I did this when someone was like left me high and dry. Like I can make it, and I feel more like poised to go anywhere else in the future from it, because it's like, all right, I've done it once, I can do it again. I don't really want to, you know, because now I'm starting to get established out there.
Right.
But it's still like a gradual process. Like I was talking to some of my professors the other day because I stopped by on campus, and there's like 3 years is no time to get like set up in a new city. So especially with like no contact. So sometimes I beat myself up over it. So I'm like, man, this fucking sucks. It's been a struggle. But like in some ways I've gotten amazing networks. I got like awesome friends, and like the community I have out there is good. And I feel like it kind of like speaks to me, Because like if I was a piece of shit and I was some scumbag or whatever, like I wouldn't have this great network of people out there. So it's like I'm kind of like grateful for that, and it was because I had like no self-esteem, no confidence. Like it was fucking horrible when I went through all that. Like I just felt like shit as a person. Like I wasn't good enough, and then like to rebuild that, and people like want my skills and they want my talents, and they like consult me when they're working on projects because they think that I'm like definitely the person to be involved. And it's like, all right, cool, I do still got it. Like I am still a person, and then, like it was like. It was almost like reestablishing an identity that I didn't always really have. Because I kind of had an identity here in a sense, but it's like it was always easy. I always had like a fallback. It was always comfortable. It was home.
Right.
There, when it's like basically like do or die. It's like, oh, you're going to be homeless, so you're going to have to move back home if it doesn't work out and you don't make it. So I think through that, it kind of forced me to learn like my strengths, my weaknesses, like some of my personality faults that like may have contributed to like problems in my relationship, like moving forward and meeting new people. When I had to just work to pay the bills, like I had to work in jobs and fields that I'd never even considered I would do. Like I've been like a sales rep. It was like a consultant for a graphic design firm. I worked in a crating and heavy haul like company that did like this massive transportation of like awkward things. So I was a carpenter in a workshop for like a year, and it's like I would never thought that I'd be doing that, but now I feel pretty fucking solid to build almost anything that's gonna like last. Like it's the skill set that I developed. And it's like because you just had to like jump in and do it. Had to survive, had to make it happen, and like I'm grateful for all that now because it's kind of collectively formed this. It's like I'm a big zit. I'm about to pop, and I'm just. It's about to pop, man. It's about to go off. I've been building up all this bullshit, and then it's gonna expel, and I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm some fucking normal, healthy poor now. Right?
Well, I mean, it does go back to like talk about like fast food culture and all that because like the it's that delayed gratification, right? And you realize that a long-term investment
easy off the bat. I thought I was gonna go out there, I was gonna be with my girl, she's gonna just, oh, surprise, I'm completely clean, sober, and life's happy, and I'm gonna love you, and we're gonna have a family, like, and life's like, no, like, no tacos here. Getting your fucking hamburger today, but I was expecting that instant, and then when it didn't hit, I think it fucked me up for a while. Like sometimes I think I still am a little fucked up. Like I'm bitter, but on the whole, I'm not in a depressive state. Because like for a while, man, I was like borderline suicidal. Like I was like, it was not good. Money was fucked. My life was fucked. My attitude was fucked. Because I didn't see any way out. Because I didn't have that. It's like, hey, I'm working. I'm doing everything for it. Where's my good? Where's my reward?
Yeah.
But now it's coming. Because like now I have character. I'm like a person this guy experiences that help me in like my everyday life. It's like now I have insight and I'm not like with my blinders on all the time. I think you have to have that mentality of like everything can get real shitty real quick.
Oh yeah.
You have to be prepared for that. It's not always cushy.
Yeah. Well, it's only once you hit a bottom can you really like transcend and like propel yourself back up.
It just sounds cliche because people always be like, oh, the only way to go from rock bottom is up, and and then like I never thought of it that way. I'm like, that's just some dumbass bullshit old men say. But like those old men are wise for a reason.
And things are cliche because there's some truth in it. That's what's the old cliche about cliches being, you know what I mean? So it's
it's like most old men that I know, they're like wise old. Nothing against like old wise women, because there's definitely some everyone knows like a wise ass grandmother. But you know what? All the older people with like real wisdom that is pertinent to us, and we're like, damn, that person was wise. It's because they went through some shit. Like our grandparents and all the people before us, it's like life is hard, life's a struggle. People are shitty. People have always been shitty, but they've been through it and they know. Yeah. Eventually, you find someone, hopefully, for everybody, but you never know.
Well, and even if you don't, you gotta like who you are. You know, and it's hard for creatives because like I'm my favorite and least favorite person.
Yeah.
Like, so like I love myself and yet I hate myself for every shitty thing I've ever done, every mistake I've made, every time I was made a fool, like, and I think going back to, talking about, feeling low and, even like wanting self-harm done and things like that, there's a problem with a lot of us creatives in that we get stuck in day to day, right? And because we're surrounded by everything with instant gratification, and whenever you're investing in delayed gratification, oh man, that's like seeing everybody outside like playing and having a good time, and you're helping build something in the backyard that will give you a good time, like a play set or something, so I mean that's one thing I love about like recording music and making music myself, and like you're one of the few people I know as well that like your creativity flourishes more solo than it does with other musicians. And because it's all about that delayed gratification. You're not gonna like instantly record something in one day and then be like, oh perfect, it's done.
Dude, my library is so full of like projects that like probably won't even see the light of day. It sucks because I have some stuff that it's like I feel like it's pretty good, but I haven't put it out because it's not quite where I want it, or I feel like it's not gonna hit that level. But then like maybe I'm like, maybe you should just throw it out and then receive and see like what people like and what people are wanting, and because you never know, because like some of the stuff I've shown, like my buddy Tim's like my biggest sounding board. He listens to like all my music and he's like, he gives me a good feedback on it and stuff. But so some stuff he's listened to, he's like, dude, why isn't this out? Why didn't you put this out? I'm like, because it sucks. Because it's garbage. And, And like I have one song, it's an older one I did. And now it just seems dated. Like it all sounds older. Like the recording process wasn't as good.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know what I was doing. And I'm like, no, I won't put it out. But then I think of doing like just a compilation of like, here's some old shit. An old shit album. But the music's weird now.
It is.
The
but
albums
I mean,
aren't as big.
as far as like putting it out there, you should put it out there, man. Like this, I've had people that like one album I did, I got a lot of love for, and then another album I did, I got a lot of flack for. And at the same time, it's like, well, yeah, of course, because like I don't want to make the same thing again. Yeah. Like I want to make stuff that not only challenges me, but it's going to challenge the listener as well, But with me, usually I give myself like 5 years. I say like, all right, every 5 years I got to put something out, and it gives me enough time to write. It gives me enough time to save up funds to have, because if I'm going to put it out, I want it to sound professional and nice. I'm good with doing most of my pre-production myself. I'm cool with that. But when it comes to finalizing it, no. Lee Dias at Earth Sound Recording. It's the bee's knees.
It always sounds so good, and that's where I'm at. I probably need to find someone to do mine. And I've actually made some networks like out there with like actual musicians. So you familiar with Ben Candlebox? Yeah. So I know a guy named Memphis Hennessy, and he's just got back from touring with them, and like he was overseas, I want to say. He was like in Europe or something. But like he comes over to my landlord's studio and like records dumbass videos and stuff. So it's like bullshitting and hanging out with these people that are like established musicians. And there's another band called Royal Bliss. They're like a rock band. They just toured with like Seether and Stained and all that. So like they're playing with like these big name musicians. They own a bar in Salt Lake and they record. So it's kind of been nice, like thinking I had nothing out there and I moved for nothing, because that was my mentality for a while. And then it's like, oh, now I'm actually meeting like these artists, like personally hanging out and chilling with these like professional music artists. And then they're like,
you never know who you're gonna meet, and you never know the people you meet who they're gonna become.
And it's weird when you're talking to this dude that's like, we're reporting like rock star, and he's like, yeah, dude, you're cool as shit. Like, come over. I want to work on some of your music with you, because we're talking about singing and stuff. Because he knows I like to sing, and it was just like,
there's
how's that happen?
When I lived in Jersey, and I did pretty much something similar to you did. Just move someplace, or like, hey, I'll know like 3 people while I'm there, but like let's just see what happens. But I became friends with some tattoo artists and some metalheads that were up there just in the Philadelphia metal scene, and like awesome like group of folks and whatnot. And you know they did some of them did psychedelic like metal, like my friend's band Sagicacia. They did an album called False Prism. It's a two-piece psychedelic metal band. There's only 4 songs on the album. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Ominous Black was another one. Dutch Guts. But there's a friend of mine, and to be respectful, I won't give too many details, but she's currently touring, kick-ass person. I've got a tattoo from her on my leg. It means a whole lot to me. She married a particular rock star in like the past like 3 or 4 years. And within that 3 or 4 years, this particular rock star won a Grammy. And this is just a friend of mine. That like this is like her husband. I'm not even really a fan of her husband's work. Yeah. Like she always was, which is like wild that like, you know, like this band that a friend of mine was like, oh, you don't really dig it? I'm like, well, I mean, it's good. Yeah. It's just not my cup of tea. But you know, there's other musicians I've met before that I see how they operate as a band. I see how slimy they are, and how like they're so opportunistic to have anybody that has like an in that then they just want to kind of slide their arm around and be like, hey buddy, how you been? And what's funny is that a lot of these same people, they detest me, and yet just a buddy of mine is like married to like arguably one of the biggest rock stars on the planet right now. And I don't care. Like I said, I don't even want to give their name because I don't want to seem like it's bragging or anything, you know. And I would never ask them for like anything, like and quote unquote or like a favor or anything like that.
Exactly. I felt like, because that's what shocked me. I think when I was meeting this dude, because I didn't ask to hang out and make music. Like he was just talking to me about it. He's like, yeah, dude, I like your style, because we were working on a comedy video or something, and I was just fucking ringing off funny ideas because luckily I'm funny enough. And like he was just like, dude, I like working with you. And then he's just like, from that he's like, wants to come make music. So it's kind of cool because I'm like, yeah, I kind of earned that, I guess. But like the other band, Royal Bliss, they're all friends too. His brother is in Royal Bliss, is the bassist, but like, so the first thing I really found out about Royal Bliss out there was I did this event called Ride the Brainwave. I posted a video for it like last year, and basically it's this big like car show / motorcycle rally / rock concert they do, and it's a fundraiser for like little kids with brain cancer and traumatic brain injuries and stuff. So they're like auctioning off guitars signed by the band for like $7,000-$8,000 a piece. I mean, I think they raised like a good chunk of money.
That's awesome.
So, and I went and I filmed the whole thing for free for the lady that organizes it. Just they had something to show off this year to ramp it up and make it bigger, and they're gonna film it again this year. But like, I mean, just watching the band Royal Bliss, like they were so cool. Like they're bringing up kids on stage that had like Down syndrome, and this little kid's just like rocking out on this full stage of this band. Like this little kid loved it. Like you could tell how happy he was. And it's good to be around like artists and musicians that are like using their flame and platform to like do stuff for a good cause, you know, and not just be like, oh, cool, look, we're musicians, we're hip. Yeah. You know, like these guys are cool.
I think I totally get that because I've never been a hip musician. You know what I mean? I've always kind of been like a bit of an island anyway, and then, you know, getting into my 30s, you know, I become even more alienated in a way, because then like, well, I don't even want to put forth the effort into like trying to be anything I'm not, or like feign interest in like somebody else's music.
Right.
Like I like the music you do, Matt. Like I genuinely do. It tickles my ears. It's not boring. You're talented.
It's different. Like I can't put it in a genre, so I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
What kind of music do you make?
Well, and plus it's a one-man band. You know, like I'm a one-man band. Like, and
the hard thing is performing as a one-man band.
Oh yeah, like you're not gonna. I don't even like doing it really anymore, because it's never gonna be like how it is on the record. It's just me with essentially my dick in my hand.
Yeah, I'm sitting in my house, like I got my layers, and I'm recording this synth and recording this bass, and sometimes like people don't see it, but it took me 50 fucking takes to get that stupid little bass line, just like not messed up,
or like people don't understand. It's like no, I actually didn't play the 4-piece orchestra. It's like I use computers same way to like, because people just be like, oh, you make beats. It's like, well, that's like the basement of a house. You wouldn't just pour the foundation and be like, there it is. Check it out.
Stuff that wood up. Well, I mean, it's kind of hard. That's why I want to do more producing, I think, because I do know some artists that are like performing like artists out there, and I have a bunch of friends that are DJs and stuff. So I feel like it's easier for me right now to like produce stuff and then help put it out to people that are doing it, or like then I don't have to perform it, which I don't mind. I think performing would be fun, but I have to find out like how to, like I have to change my setup so that the music I'm recording is pretty much like me recording it live, so that it would translate the same way. Like, are you familiar with I think FKJ, is that his name? He's a guy that he plays like a saxophone and stuff, has all these looper pedals and triggers and stuff set up on this big table, and but a lot of it's like analog equipment, and it's just like like a 4-track mixer, and but the way he does it, I mean, he puts together these bangers, and it's like, but all in a one-shot like live setup. Or
Zach Deputy, I know it's one guy here.
Mark Rubelet,
Southeast. I don't know Mark Rubelet.
He's the guy with the glasses that looks like Kip.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That big old ass.
Yeah.
I mean, his shows are like a little strange, but like he's up there just mixing it and looping it, and so I feel like I would want to perform. Because it's another thing I was going to talk about. It's the Jaguar Cult. It's this group of artists that I've been working with out in Salt Lake City. It's a buddy of mine, David Brooks. He kind of like started it with some other
Jaguar,
artists.
like the Jungle Cat.
Jaguar Occult. And so basically, we have this super awesome warehouse space. He just moved out of it, so we're moving into a new one. So we're probably going to be on a hiatus for like a month. Mm-hmm. But it's this big warehouse space, a loft above it and everything, and we threw these late night parties with this group called Last Call SLC. And they would come in and do these late night club parties in our warehouse space from like 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. Like when everything else is closed, we're going hard.
So it's like a rave and a speakeasy.
Very underground, you know? So, I mean, that was kind of like the establishment of like that warehouse space. But then we got into all these issues with our neighbor, because we're kind of like in a residential space. Like, this is weird warehouse in the middle of this like neighborhood. And our neighbor hated it because we have like a festival like sound system. Like, we're like shaking the dishes on the neighbors, like it was bad.
I would hate living next to you guys.
Yeah, I know. No, it was bad. They hated us, and like David, he talked to them. Sometimes wasn't the best at negotiating, like in the moment, and like they got it worked out eventually. But
yo, fuck your dishes. I don't give a fuck.
Well, that group that was coming through, like, man, shit got rowdy, dude. Shit got ratchet late at night. Like, we were out there like bouncing. Like breaking up fights and stuff. And that's when we were like, nah, you guys can't do this thing anymore. So we started doing it ourselves. And we got a setup of, they are like wireless FM transmitter headphones. So they...
like the silent disco?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I went to one like legit rave back when I was strapping fellow in my 20s, but it was in Tallahassee. My friend Raquel took me, Oh, wow.
That's the warehouse space.
Wow. That is awesome.
Yeah, if anyone that's listening wants to see this, just look on Instagram at Jaguar Occult. That's OCCULT. Yeah, that's a big like panther head we made. We cut it out of like corrugated like plastic pieces and built this frame behind it.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Dude.
We got like 3D mapping and laser projectors to light it up. And here's a video. I'm not gonna play it because the sound. But this one's kind of like we have a big 30-foot screen and we'll have 2 DJs set up at the same time, and the people can flick their headphones from different channels.
Yeah.
So they can all be dancing with someone else and listen to the other DJ. So we have this event space, and I mean it's been packed. Like they've gotten bigger and bigger. Like we're packing this. We're now headphones at the last event we did, and we have like hundreds of headphones. So it's definitely growing, which is nice because now I'm like working with these people out there, like this group of artists, and we're all kind of collectively helping each other. That's what the occult is. Like hey, how can I help you? What do you need help with marketing? You know, with branding? You know, do you need help with promotions and lining up shows? Because we have artists in there that are like booking actual shows, and we have several DJs and 1 or 2 other people produce, but like that's kind of like our thing now. So like that's why I want to break into being able to perform my music live, because I don't just want to get up there and DJ.
It seemed kind of boring, I would imagine.
I mean, I feel like I could be good at DJing, but like that's not like if I can produce music, why would I DJ?
Well, if I'm on stage, I either want to be using my voice or I want a stringed instrument in my hand.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'd like to sing. I'd like to do something where I can sing more.
You should totally get into that. One of the big, I guess, qualms, and it's just an artist ego thing with me, but that I have
ego is the biggest enemy of the artist.
Yeah, that's also one of the most useful tools.
It's a double-bladed sword.
Yeah. Oh, the life.
I know, right?
But with loop music is that you have to cater the idea around something that is going to be omnipresent in the song. So like, for example, like with me, like I'll like to go quote unquote out of key at certain moments, just because I'll be like, well, I write weirdly, so like sometimes it'll just be a cappella when I start. You know, I'll start with an idea and then words, and I'll be like, all right, now I have to find the key that my voice I know can sit comfortably in, so I can hit it like falsetto. I can hit it quietly and lowly, like so. And it may not even be in the same key as the measure that it was before. So if I'm having to loop a sample, and now like I'm limited in that capacity.
And that's why I need to figure out ways to work, because I've seen some more elaborate setups they have. And I think the way around this would be, for at least what I figured for mine, I need to tinker with it and get it like worked out for sure. But so in Ableton, you can just drag a looper effect onto a slot. And at that point, you're only limited on your loop size by your like memory and computing power. So I have a pretty strong computer and laptop, so I'm not like too worried about that. But like say on a looper pedal, you're stuck with like a 16 bar loop. Mm-hmm. And you can't really go past that on most like standard looping pedals.
Yeah.
But on this, like,
unless you're going to substitute with another 16 bar loop.
But if I want like a 32 bar loop, I can do that, and then that can be like my channel 1. And then I can have another channel as a 16 bar loop, and like so I can have like up to 20 channels, all with like different loops on them, and then I can just adjust the sliders and times for this. So if I have to take one out and like raise up, so if I was doing like a chorus and pre-chorus, like you can just have your A and B sends, so you can just change your send A and B, and now like my other chorus comes in, and you can like change it up completely.
That's what's up.
Because that's where you get limited with loops, is because like, you know, you're in that rhythm.
When you got,
so unless you like pause it and stop it and then start another loop for like your chorus section or something, then you have to go back to the other one. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there are more complicated like analog setups where you could like, you know, run one looper to a mixer, second looper to a mixer, and try and build it that way. But that's kind of nuts if you ask me, when you could just run it all through Ableton. I think you just need a big mixing board with enough sliders to run all your volume and knobs.
Yeah.
Get a good MIDI controller and like map it and save your preset.
Oh man, what I really want to get, I'll probably be like an old man before I get it, but MIDI pickups. So you can use a guitar as an alternate controller to control MIDI, the same way you would with a keyboard.
Yeah.
You know, so
That'd be awesome.
oh fuck yeah, dude!
Yeah.
Like, because like me, like I can compose ideas on the piano. I cannot play the compositions themselves though. Like, so I have to look at it like one note at a time.
Yeah.
But like, piano's my first instrument, but I don't know how. Like, I'm not a pianist, you know.
I use it for some keys and stuff, but I don't know shit about.
I've used that thing more or less as a Kama Sutra device. It's top notch. Get yourself a piano, folks. Put it in your bedroom. You and your partner just
slapping ivory.
Just send me a thank you card. That's all that matters. You know, I don't even need that. Just pay it forward. Tell your friends to get a piano.
I had a badass organ in my old place.
I mean, hyperbolic. I do play the piano as well, but I mean, I'm just being frank.
I should have got it. I had a nice organ in my old place that I got for free, but I had to move it like back up a flight of stairs when I moved. And it's like 400 pounds. I gave myself a hernia moving it in, and I said, fuck it. Because I wanted like $200 to move it, and I'm like, not worth it.
Yeah. I've had to do that before, man, where I'm leaving a place where it's just like, what about that? Like, what about it, man?
Wish I could, but...
Sorry, just me here. I'm leaving because I'm poor.
I know. My landlord at the old place, he gave me 3 months. He's like, hey, I'm renovating the place. I'm like, you got 3 months to find a place to live. I'm like, okay. So like 2 months, and a month and a half into it, I find a place and I let him know. And then like he waits like a week before I'm about to move out, and he's like, so I was thinking if you just pay half of the January's rent, that'd be fine. I'll prorate it. Since you're moving out, you're not going to be there the whole month. I'm like, what the fuck? Wait a second. You're going to give me a 30-day notice and then still expect me to give you a 30-day notice before I move out and like pay you like the rest of the 30 days? And I'm like, dude, I'm poor. Kick rocks. What's that? And he's like, what are you going to do about it? You going to take me to court? We don't have a fucking contract or an agreement. I'm not obligated to shit.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
I've had that before with people.
He was a creep, dude.
Where I'm just like, hey, listen, I took you at your word, and like you weren't worth your word, and I know you weren't worth your word because I've not been worth my word before in the past, you know. So, no, should have thought about it beforehand. Fucking, there was one place I lived at. We had rats. And when I say rats, I don't mean like mice or like the brown rat. These things were the size of fucking house cats.
Like river rats.
Yeah, like nutrients.
Yeah.
As like, dude, by VSU, I kid you not. I'm sitting there. It's like Sunday evening, playing Grand Theft Auto in the living room. And I see my girlfriend's cat out of the corner of my left eye, on my periphery, and it's by the front door. It's fucking around with something at the front door, and it dawns on me that the cat's in the bedroom, and I slowly look to my left, and it's a giant fucking rat. I mean, Templeton times 10. Like, this motherfucker is disgusting. And he's so large. It's like at the size of a New York City subway rat.
Startling.
Like, have you ever been to the Manhattan and the subways in New York and seen the rats? Yeah, it was this size, dude. Ungodly. And so all I could say was, goo! And I've learned that is how I react when I'm scared. I can't even say the word God. All that comes out is goo. So it terrifies the rat. Like, the rat jumps up and does a backflip, which causes me to jump out my chair. It scurries in the corner underneath furniture. So I fling open the front door and I start tossing in like a fearful rage. Like, I grab like a fucking like giant like chair like that, like a 2-person, but it's one chair cedar, and throw it out the front door. The neighbors are on the front porch across the street, and like then they see me come back with like the couch and other stuff. I'm like, there's a rat. So they just think I'm just like terrified of a mouse. You know, they're like, oh, Colt doesn't like mice. All right. So like my girlfriend, like, I go and get the cat from the bedroom, and she's like, what the fuck's the cat gonna do? It's an indoor cat. It's never seen a mouse. I'm like, this is not a mouse. And like I lift up the only couch, it's the only piece of furniture now in the room. I've thrown everything out. It's hiding underneath here. I shine a flashlight and I lift the front cover up, and she sees it, and like she screams because like the thing's fucking gigantic. So like we finally
like
get
a
it.
Chihuahua.
Dude, it's bigger than a Chihuahua. It would eat a Chihuahua. If you follow like Nature is Metal on Instagram, you would see this motherfucker just
eating a Chihuahua.
Yeah, just Templeton just catching the fucking Taco Bell dog from the 90s, just gnawing him to bits. But that wasn't it. The rats came back. Like there was more rats. So we caught one. Like we got mouse traps first. They didn't work. They just like took them off. No, they just took them off. Yeah, they just disappeared. The glue traps or whatnot, the humane traps. No, they just fucking took off with them. So we got like the industrial rat traps that like you know dirty kitchens will use and whatnot. And like caught one. And like I saw how big this fucking thing was, dude. Like it was gigantic. I had to use a snow shovel to pick the rat up, and the snow shovel broke. It broke from the weight of this rat. So we're like, thank God we got it. And then there was another rat, and like another one. We got another one, and then we found out that like no, the house is infested. So I went to the landlord. I was like. I called them up, and they were like, "Well, you need to stop in the office and talk with somebody. We're not, we can't handle this over the phone." I'm like,
"Did you bring the rat?"
No.
You should have brought the rat.
Bring fucking bubonic plagues to the place of business. That's rude. But so I go up there. I'm like, and like some. Another tenant, a lady, is she's complaining about something they're mishandling, or whoever her property manager is mishandling it. My original landlord, he outsourced to another company, and then they had a new property manager take over who was feckless, for as far as I could tell. But she was the lady was being real dismissive with her, just like, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am." And she's like standing there, like looking kind of like helpless. Now I couldn't help her with her problem, but I could help bring attention to like, "Hey, you behind the counter, you need to do something." Because I was like, "Hey, I don't know what your problem is, ma'am, but I've got rats the size of house cats that are just living in the kitchen of my house, and like we've gotten 4 of them. 1 humanely, the other 3 dead. Like, they're gigantic." And she looks me dead in my eye and says, "Well, have you put in a maintenance request?" And I said, "A maintenance request for what? There's nothing in the house that needs maintaining." I'm saying an exterminator is like I like, who's in charge here? Like, nothing at all. So I the last like few months I was there, I was a bachelor at this point, and it was hurricane season in South Georgia. So that's usually like September, October, right? And of course, a storm rolls through, power goes out, and I hear the rats, and like I don't know how many there are of them, but it sounds like a group of like dogs in the kitchen, and you just hear them just like they're taking over. So I'm like, fuck this. So I light a candle real quick, and like then like use it like quickly to light anything else I can that's flammable, and put it on a coffee table, and then turn on flashlights. So like at least in the living room and around me, they won't come near like the fire. And yet I hear them like all in the darkness, like outside the perimeter of light, like just like they had control of the house. So
I think I'd just go bash them all to bat. I'd be like some epic.
Well, I didn't.
Dude.
I didn't want to start like firing buckshot
push to my
indoors
wits,
or
yeah.
anything.
Get like a cattle prod, dude.
Well,
That'll get them.
but I had lived in another house on that block a few years prior, and there were a couple of rats in it. Now, not that bad, but it leads me to believe that right there around VSU, like there is a gigantic rat population.
Yeah, it's just under the ground, just like fermenting and fucking building, like this cacophony rat orgy.
Dude, I wonder how big the king rat is. Like the one who is like no orgies before mine. You know, like he's like the biggest walrus on the beach.
It looks like a fucking pit bull, dude. Just like... slides out of this manhole, but it's got like this big old gut. They look like the fucking bad dog of All Dogs Go to Heaven. The big ass evil dog.
Didn't they have a sequel to that?
Yeah.
I never watched All Dogs Go to Heaven 2.
Yeah, me either.
It was kind of like the sequel to the Never-Ending Story. I don't fucking think so. Never-ending, 90 minutes. Kiss my ass. You want more money to see a sequel that will also...
They should still be making them, honestly, if it's never ending.
Like, I mean, yeah, like, how many people, like, that would be just like, I'm going to see the Never-Ending Story. And like, Carl, you'll never come back, please.
We'll never see you again.
Think of the family, Carl. I've made my mind. Wife, children.
You remember that wolf in the movie? I have a childhood memory of I was at my babysitter's house and we were watching it, and that's where the fucking wolf's chasing the kid at the end. It's like it's like a scary like point of view from this wolf like running through the woods, and then they turned the channel and it was the O.J. Simpson police chase. Like, I just always remember, like, the never-ending story being interrupted by, like, fucking, we interrupt this news, and this is Bronco, and then they're all, like, adults, oh, God, O.J. Simpson, and I'm, like, this little kid, and it was, like, right in the middle of the scary part of the movie, too, so I, like, never got real closure on it, you know? It's like right in the middle.
Much like most of Americans with the O.J. Simpson trial. I think he killed those people.
Didn't he write a book? It's like, If I Did It?
Yeah.
The balls in that dude are admirable.
Dude, that was one of those 90s, like, turning points. Like, granted, I was what, like, I think 10 or 11. 95, I was 11 for most of it. So, like, I clearly didn't have like, I didn't know who the fuck O.J. Simpson was, you know? But
if the glove don't fit, you must quit. Dude. I mean, I guess it proves you're rich, dude.
We see a lot of police tampering that went on with that as well, like through the crime scene. Like you had like officers that were like walking through like puddles of blood, and shit. Like touching evidence.
You think we can get fingerprints off this?
Oh. Yeah, she's dead. Look at that. Her arm just falls and falls. Found a knife.
Did I leave my glove over there?
Oh, it's blood all over. Let me clean that off. Smudges on the handle. Oh, fudge.
Crazy shit.
It is, man.
People are crazy, though. I mean, what's that? Ted Bundy he lived in Salt Lake City. Like, I have met people, like, I met a girl, and her mom dated him and had no idea that he was fucking killing people.
That's fucking...
You would have thought he was just, like, the most normal person. I've been to his cave. There's a cave where apparently he fucking killed people, and you can go to it now, and it's all, like, graffitied up, and it's like, you're not supposed to get there, but you can get there, you know?
It's kind of weird, our fascination with macabre stuff to the point where like true evil and tourism.
Man, you start dating these days, and like girls don't realize like being obsessed with killing like serial killers in the office is not personality.
It's not.
Like, you want to hang out and watch true crime? I'm like, no, because you're probably batshit crazy.
Yeah. Hang out and talk about reptilian overlords taking control of the country. I am all about it, girl. One of the things where I'm usually just like nope is where if it's on like a like Bumble dating app where you have pictures of your kids on a dating profile.
I know.
Don't put pictures of your kids on a dating profile. I don't know what guys' profiles look like, so I don't know what like the big like hey. Like fellas,
holding my son up next to a big old bass by the lip. Look at my boy. Proud of this one. But some people, they'll post all these pictures of their kids, and it's like, bro, like you're like, I get you love your kids, shit. You want to know, but like,
get them off a dating profile.
Yeah, I know.
What the fuck, man?
You know what kind of fucked up people are gonna be out here sending like some girl will have a picture of her fucking like kids and shit, and some dude will be like jerking his dick up to get hard to take a picture of to send to her. Like
there's
using that picture. It's
there's a friend of mine. She had put something on social media where a guy had like been commenting on like how how sexy she was and all this with and what he was referring to. It was like a video where it was like her and her son were like playing, and she was like, dude, what the fuck? Yeah. And then like he was just like, it's just like, yeah, he's like, what the fuck? He's like, it's sexy, it's hot. And she's like, no, she's like, that's mostly me and my son. Like, what are you like not cool.
Crazy. Dudes are creep. Which makes it hard if you're like just a normal dude who wants to date. And you're like, some dudes out there fucking it up, making it super hard for everybody else.
Oh, you need a little bit of creep because I mean, like that's
they're a mystery, I guess.
I mean, I'm human after all, but
some of these girls tell me stories, and it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, man. Like, fuck that, dude. Like, I had this one fucking this girl. This was it was like Memorial Day weekend of last year, and she's like down for like 3-day weekend or whatnot. She lives not too far, like another city in South Georgia, and
she's down.
Then, well, while like I was off on vacation like that whole week, right? So, she had while she was here, she stole illicit substances from me, and I was like, yo, you need to leave, like. Nah, like, you need to be gone. So I was, whenever I found out it happened, I was not at the house at present. I had stepped out to for just a hot second, and then I found out about that. I was like, yo, you don't need to be there when I get back, like, at all. So I come back, and she's gone. Her dogs are gone. Like, so I'm like, oh. I take a sigh of relief. I'm like, thank you, Lord. And before I get the word Lord fully out, like screaming like a lunatic on my front porch. And I found out what it was. The crazy bitch parked her car in the backyard, hidden by like woods and brush and whatnot, and like had been sitting there like for like however long and whatnot, and like she's like screaming like, I have no place to go. I'm like what? Like, where are your kids? Like, where are your children? She's like, in this city. I'm like, why aren't you with your family? Like, because I had just found out that like she had 3 children, and she was just off like stealing and doing speed and meth and like all this stuff from people. And she got caught. She got had by me, and then like now she like I couldn't like call the law. What am I gonna say? Like hey, like she stole something from me that if you copped would put me in handcuffs.
She came over and stole my weed off the store. Can you get that back for me? It'd be awesome.
But now like my neighbor's like coming out. My neighbor is awesome. Like he and his family like best neighbors that like I could ask for. But now they see this commotion, like they're like, you know, good, like upstanding, like, you know, Southern folk, and they see this nice vagabond living next to them, like they don't care, you know. But like this is a ruckus, and so like now like they're wondering like, is there some like domestic violence shit going down? And she's like, you know, like, oh, I know where to go, and like I just at this point I just want her like inside and like quiet. So I'm like, you can stay like one more night. I was like, in the morning, like you're gonna go. I was like, and you're gonna sleep in the bedroom, and I'm gonna sleep on the couch
with chains on.
Nah, but I moved my firearms around and my ammunition as well before like I let her like back inside, just in case like she had been, because a thief will normally case, right?
Yeah.
And so like later that night, yeah, she's like, you know, trying to pop that pussy off on me and like be like, no, let's go to the bedroom and do this. I'm like, no, like absolutely not. I'm like, in my mind, I'm just like, oh God, like I'm in hot water.
The last thing I want is to pussy. Get out of here.
Like, and then she starts like feigning, like crying, like, like all this like hyper dramatic stuff. And so like eventually I outlast her patience, you know what I mean? And she like goes into like the guest room and like, you know, passes out. And so I'm like, all right. So like then I'm like, wait till I hear like snoring and all that shit before like I nap out for a little bit. I wake up the next morning and like I like hop in the shower so that way like she hears that I'm up, and it gives me a minute that I don't have to like be like get up out of my bed or anything like this, because I know that thief is going to take the opportunity then to get up and like scope, like make one quick run, right? So I catch her. She stole a bath mat. She stole like money for the change jar. Like she stole lottery tickets that had expired, but she you know. So then I'm like, you know, I got my phone out. I'm recording. I'm like, get off the property. I'm like, if you come back again, it's criminal trespass. Like you are not welcome here at all. You're not welcome to ever come back here. And she's like, you know, screaming and cussing, and I'm like, whatever. So I turn to go back inside, and all I do is I just get to the threshold and turn around. I see her hop out of the car, and she throws one of her dogs like on the porch and takes off into the car and says, you can keep her, and like tries to like back up. I'm like, you poor dog.
Yeah.
I'm like, you crazy bitch, stop. And like I catch her at the end of the driveway, because then you're on the road and there's traffic right there. So I put the dog back in the car. She starts screaming, oh God, don't hurt him, please. I'm like, you fucking maniacal bitch. Like, get off. So after that experience, my Lord, dude, you start becoming really precautious, you know?
Well, I had a friend in Salt Lake, and his girl that he went through, she posted a whole bunch of shit about him when they broke up, but like he showed me videos of him getting in arguments with her, and she like straight would like smash her head into the fucking window, like, and fucking just try and make it look like he was like beating her. She was batshit crazy.
Yeah, abusive women exist.
Yeah, she's like hurting her. She's like, she really fucking headbutted the glass in the door trying to break it and like cut herself. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Peace. I don't need it in my life. Like, I ain't that lonely.
Fuck, nah, dude. Like, I
got a dog, man. That's all I need.
my whole thing, it's and granted, I am shallow to the point where like I gotta think a girl's cute. Like,
yeah, I know.
Like, you know,
I mean, but girls are the same way. They can't say they're not, you know.
Oh yeah.
You gotta just date some fugly, ugly,
Oh no,
bumbly
no.
motherfucker.
Well, I mean, like me, I've always been a fat kid, so like I've always had to rely on like charm, and always had to rely on women that aren't shallow, which is what you should want anyway.
Yeah.
You should want your partner, not to be shallow.
I had to learn to be funny.
Yeah. This genius didn't come naturally, folks. We had to earn it. But I mean, you know, to your point, it is true though, man. Like, if all you have to offer somebody is a vagina, you ain't got shit, dude.
Everybody on the planet's got a warm hole.
Like, I mean, just saying, like, you gotta have more to offer. Like, so what's sexy? Like fucking ambition, intelligence, open-mindedness, communicativeness, you know? Like these things are, like, awesome. And, like, you can also throw all the kink, dirty shit in there as well. But, I mean, that's, again, like, that just ties into the carnal stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Those are bonuses.
Well, I mean, yeah, because, like I'm sorry, I don't enjoy sex if, like, the person's boring. I don't bang, like, boring or dumb people for that reason.
I know.
You know? And I think it's something that's, like, wired in me. Like, I'm not turned on by it. So I think it's something that's wired in me to where, like, it's my balls that are, like, again, they're calling the shots. You know what I mean? It's that thing where it's like, no, we don't want our genes to create life with this.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's, like, either boring or on a different intellectual level. So, and that's fine, because a lot of people aren't into the same stuff. And I don't need, like, a partner and I to be, like, into the same stuff or anything. Like, it's more about, like, you know, a core belief system and, like, you know, what you put importance in, and that you're always trying to achieve something, you know. Like, you gotta have something on the horizon, like long-term goals, you know.
Yeah. I think you have a partner that'll... You have to be compromising. I feel like that's one thing I went through. Like, I made a bunch of changes for, like, my partner that I moved out there with. But, like, I mean, she straight up told me that she didn't have the emotional energy to help me with any of the changes I was going through.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't even try. Wouldn't lift a finger. Wouldn't try and be empathetic or, like, discomfort herself in any way to help me as her partner. It's like, it was just always me giving. And then there was a point where I was, like, resented because I did everything so well. And it was like, I was so good to her that she, like, hated me for it. And it was just like, how does that fucking even make sense? And like, you know, but if you have a partner, you have to inconvenience yourself sometimes. Like, I didn't like doing 90% of the shit I did to, like, keep her comfortable and satisfied and all that. But you know what? I still did it.
Yeah, that's what being a man or being a woman, being an adult is all about. It's doing what needs to be done before what you want to be done. You know, doing what you have to do before what you want to do.
I noticed those red flags earlier now, though. I think
right,
that's a big thing.
Right.
You become aware of them, and you're like, But then it's also like, maybe I'll probably die alone because I'm so like,
I don't know, man.
No, I get like really picky. Like,
I don't know. You know, trust the process is something that I've come to learn, and that you know, like I look at like 5 years ago, like the person I was, and like I was like height of Adderall use with me, and like I was a nasty person, and like I was not fun to be around. You know, I didn't like myself. I took it out on other people.
I wouldn't do that with Adderall.
And well, I had, before that was a precursor. I was in an abusive relationship with, you know, someone that, you know, wanted me to abuse them, you know, to get me to play a villain, try to goad me into, like, you know, getting in fist fights with them and whatnot. And, you know, you drown yourself in drugs and sorrow, and, you know, it doesn't work at all. You know what I mean? And then after I got off of Adderall, I got into a relationship with someone who's like a good person. Like she and I are still good friends. It didn't work for us at the time because we both had other drug problems, and you know, you can only party and do drugs for so long before it's like, hey, like, I know we were friends before we were lovers, but it's like, hey, I know that, like, this is fun and everything, but like, I'm not happy. and because you realize that like you're just a hamster in a wheel, and like I don't want to do that. And then got into another relationship where, I was engaged, and it got to the point where I realized that we were worlds apart as far as like how we wanted to grow in life, because like I had been doing my best to like improve, like no more speed, minimizing alcohol. I barely have alcohol anymore, and whenever I do, it's normally at someone else's behest, i.e. it's not something that I seek. I
always get sick when I drink, so I've always been very lucky in that. Like I've never had any real drink. It's kept me out of a lot of trouble, I think.
I always just feel fucking low, man.
Yeah. It just makes me feel shitty, like physically.
It's not really like a good drug or a good vice. Like, I mean, it's detrimental. People get violent. I mean, it has a lot of similar benefits that something like cocaine has, where like it lowers inhibitions and allows you to, you have bravery to be able to share yourself with other people, and like that's a really rewarding experience. That's what most people want. It goes back to some of those folks talking about that, like mass shooters and whatnot. Like they wanted somebody to listen in some way, and you substitute human being and genuine connection for just drugs, and like you get bad results.
Yeah.
And normally you get bad results with drugs anyway, but I mean, it's.
I feel like I'm at the point now where like all I like to do is smoke weed and do acid. And that's about like and I don't even do acid all the time, but like every time I do mushrooms I get sick. I can't like eat them anymore.
Mushrooms are intense. It's a religious experience with me, because it's I'm getting messages from something divine, that is of the earth. LSD is something that gives us like a window into the fifth dimension. So it's still extremely profound.
It's like a different way.
Yeah.
But I always preferred LSD.
LSD, I was always able to, in the past, like I would go out in public, like while on LSD, and just nobody would know.
Yeah.
I would let like my one accountability buddy.
I know. I'd be like, hey, I'm on acid. They're like, what?
Yeah.
You are? I'm like, yeah, dude, can't tell. Like, no. I'm like, oh.
Look at my pupils. They're the size of quarters.
I used to run the events we do in the warehouse and shit. I'd be tripping my balls off and like making sure everything was fucking going right. Like I couldn't even unwind. I was just like,
psychedelics need to have the same legality that alcohol has, in my opinion.
There's some people I worry about when they take. I've been around some people that like definitely can't handle their shit, and they'll get like fucking weird, man.
Well,
so you have to like.
Well, hear me out on this. I think our drug laws should be re-examined completely. So if it is something that is readily available in nature, it cannot be scheduled.
Yeah.
Marijuana, peyote, psilocybin mushrooms, ayahuasca. These shall not be regulated as controlled substances. They're readily available in nature. Get bent. That is not a difficult line to draw. Now, anything else I would find that has a danger aspect where it may have lethal consequences, I think at most you should need a doctor's note. And if you're caught with it without your authorization that you can have that, you just get it taken away from you. That's it. You don't go to jail. You just have it taken away from you. And it goes back to whoever the manufacturer is,
Destroy it. Do whatever. But yeah. No, it definitely is overhaul. But as long as there's money in it, and private prisons and stuff like that, and revenue for police departments through fines, and that's like, because there's not enough money for the police departments and stuff. That's why they fucking crack down on that shit so hard. Yeah. You think fucking, what do you think they do with all the drugs that Lowndes County busts? You think they fucking incinerate all that shit?
Nope. Well, there's always the rumor that and it's pretty well documented in other cities that evidence room, things get redistributed back into the populace.
Yeah.
And I know just in New Jersey, in Camden, while I was up there, I guess this would have been 2010. There was a bit of a scandal for the city because the city council had laid off almost half of its city employees, including like firefighters and police department. And meanwhile, they kept their budget the same, and everybody on city council and the upper echelons, they all got to keep their jobs. So in Camden, there was an area, I don't know if it's the same now, because it's been 10 years, but they were quarantine zones or drug zones. These neighborhoods were completely controlled by government, so they're completely controlled by the city. Everything around that is government dependent. Now, as far as running it, they left that up to the crime mob in this neighborhood, in this hood. So if you were found in this hood and you weren't a resident, you went to jail. This allowed the drug cartel in Camden to continue operating underneath a smaller watchful eye of the government. And meanwhile, they could distribute that from Jersey, because New Jersey is not that big of a state.
Yeah,
and there's a fuckload of people there.
Yeah.
So, and it's like Camden's right across the river from Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
I have family in Trenton.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty close to there.
Yeah, Trenton's like train ride to Trenton. It's like 45 minutes from like the greater Philly area.
Yeah.
Traffic, who knows? to try your luck. That wasn't really convenient about living there. It was just like, shit, man, if I got enough gas to make it to the train station, and like I've got like $4, I can get round trip anywhere. To leave Jersey, it cost $5 at the time. Like, it didn't cost anything to get in, but if you were trying to drive your car out of New Jersey, you had to give New Jersey $5 before you left.
That's crazy. The tolls up there are nuts. I think when we went through on vacation once, because we were towing the trailer, we paid like $200 like one way in tolls just going through.
Yeah,
because we had a trailer. It was nuts.
Yeah. There was some bridge. Whenever my dad helped me move.
Washington fucking bridge.
No, it wasn't right there in Jersey and Philly and everything, but it was somewhere in Maryland when we were moving up to Jersey. My dad was helping me move up, and with us in the U-Haul with the car and the trailer behind it, it was like over $100 to cross a bridge. And my dad told the toll lady, like, that bridge ain't worth $100.
Going around it.
Shaking his.
Like it's only $50 in gas to go around.
Oh my god. I do wish that there was there's no Valdosta was founded as a railroad town, and the railroad's still here, but there's not a passenger line that comes through, and there's not one.
It blows my mind that there's not.
Yeah.
It could connect the South so well, like all the way from Florida to Atlanta, like Miami to Atlanta. A rail system that ran and stopped along like Macon and Perry and all those would be huge.
I wonder if they had the start of one going during the Civil War, and then before Sherman made his march, and the what they call the Sherman neckties, where they would like lift the iron, the rails off of the ground and bend them around like the trees. Like Total War, like
it's like hardcore, dude. The shit Sherman did was fuck, but like, damn, man, he knew how to fucking cause some destruction.
Yeah. It's fucking it's a game of chess.
I know. What I mean? Well, it's like a buddy of mine was talking about World War One, and he was watching a documentary about it, and they were talking about how they would do. So like some of the battles, like one, I forget the name, but it was like it sounded like a drum roll. And it was artillery fire for like fucking hours straight, like 2.4 million rounds or something. And that's artillery rounds, That's not like bullets. That's like, it's like people like lost their mind. He said like the first row of shells would be like these exploding shrapnel shells that would detonate and shoot shrapnel down, and then they'd shoot gas. And then they'd shoot bunker busters to like get the people in the trenches, and then they'd follow up with another round of shrapnel, then gas, and then like behind that was just like a concussive barrage that was just like, this was like a line that just obliterated everything in its path. And then behind that they had like the foot soldiers coming through and wiping out the survivors in the trenches. But it's like to think
Souls to die. Soldier, souls to die.
But it's just like you said with chess, it's like somebody, some generals just like hit them with shrapnel, hit them with gas. And like that was all strategically planned with those artillery to like just decimate this front. And it's like
I saw this this argument one time where it talked about that the idea of a transcontinental railroad, right? And the idea of the transcontinental railroad was that you could go from Lisbon, Portugal to Tierra del Fuego at the tip of South America. I forget if it's on the Chile side or on the Argentinian side. I think it's on the Chilean side. Anywho, so the Americans and the Russians really started working at the railroad system a lot. You know, you look at the 19th century and like you really see it take off after the Industrial Revolution. So it was a threat to the British Navy, right? The Navy controlled travel. They controlled the passage. Like they had all the ports. They had their colonialist agenda was very successful as far as its imperialistic nations, which we now know is like imperialism is not a good idea, as far as like conquering lands and whatnot. So the railroad was a unifying idea as well, where the idea of like we still have borders in our countries, but we can still connect. So in essence, it would become a world without borders in the grand scheme of it, that because we would all be connected while still having sovereignty, and the Great Britain was not about that at all. So World War I, essentially, with trench warfare, destroys the majority of the part of the European line that connected Lisbon. It went from Lisbon to Baghdad, was this railway system, right? And it would connect with the Trans-Siberian as well. And the Trans-Siberian, they were going to make a bridge across the Bering Strait from Siberia to Alaska, and then that would connect with the Canadian, Mexican-American lines. And so the UK, Germany, had a guy, Otto von Bismarck and Otto von Bismarck was I'm not too sure about his character, but as far as like this idea of like the railroad and it's a way that one nation doesn't have dominance of the planet. That's a bad thing.
Well, that's why Germany is building fucking railway super weapons, because they knew if it was all connected, they could just fucking train their shit anywhere and blow the fuck out of people.
So after Otto von Bismarck left, I think it was Kaiser Wilhelm II came in, and he was a member of the royal family. Essentially, he was related, so he was a sympathizer with the crown, and something happened where it was there was like on a boat somewhere, and like someone from I think it was Russia and Austria-Hungary were on there with it, and convinced Wilhelm to go and form an alliance with them, and like not to be a part of the alliance with Great Britain and France and Serbia, I think it was. Maybe Russia. I think Russia was on the Serbian side, now that I think about it. So it must have just been Austria-Hungary. But anywho, so then whenever this happened, like when Franz Ferdinand was killed, like the UK, like the Crown, was like one of the triggermen that wanted this to happen. That way, like, the railroad system would be destroyed as far as the Americans and the Russians and the Arabians would not have control over it, and they would centralize railway systems themselves as well.
crazy how much power came from the railroads. Well, even like the expansion of the West, dude. You ever watch fucking Hell on Wheels?
No, I've heard about it.
Yeah,
I like the actors that are in it.
But it's crazy how much like gangster shit went into building the railways. Like,
yeah,
but it used to be like our claim to fame. You know, it was like that's what was all the way across was the transcontinental U.S. You know, like once that was done, it was like I was like the epitome. It's like, man, look, this is America. This is great. You can go all the way across this land on the rail system. And then, you know, in some ways, like, the interstate system, like, made it kind of obsolete. But I feel like if America had a rail system that, like, mirrored or was, like, somewhat close to the main lines of the interstate system, like, it'd be excellent for our country, for commutes and stuff.
I can agree with that. I think that, if done, though, it should be done by American companies, and the rationale I have behind that is you look at California, and what was this, like 3 years ago, that like a majority of California was on fire, right? And like they have fires there every year, but like some of them start getting bad.
Well, dude, it fucked up us in Utah. Like the whole summer, I had smoke in the valley from carried like states over. It was like the air quality was horrible and everything. I remember that for sure.
But yeah, some of these areas that were burning were not areas that normally burned, right? And you look at some of these neighborhoods that the houses are destroyed, like gone. And yet the lawn will be fine, and the trees across the street are like fine. Sometimes it just targets one specific house. There's other times where like a playground is destroyed, and yet the microwave safe plastic obstacle course or whatnot that they have is a-okay. And the few of the arguments that I came across talked about how there was a railway system that's owned by a Chinese company that it's projected the path that it wants to build would go conveniently right where some of these anomalies and these fires have been happening. So that probably about 20 years ago there was something similar with a Spanish company that was, I think I've talked about this before. A Spanish company wanted to build a toll road system going all the way from Mexico through America and up through Canada into Alaska. And they were going to have a toll on it and charge us and Mexicans and Canadians for using this road. And all the money wouldn't go back to our infrastructure, it goes back to Europe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I look at some of this stuff with the argument with the railway system, and there's some of the stuff in Australia as well. Some of these areas that where they've talked about that they had these laws put into place years ago that restricted people from doing controlled burns to burn brush. So like here in the South, like every year you'll see farmers that'll burn their land, you know? So this like quote unquote green party legislation came in that restricted that. Whilst at the same time, the same government put in stuff that allowed foreign companies to come in and drain the groundwater and all these natural springs out of these areas in Australia and to be sold elsewhere. And what happens whenever whenever fire breaks out is boom, it gets even worse than what it should have been. So it's not the argument of like, well, it's climate change. It's like, well, I mean, the climate's always changing. So I mean, it's that's just an empty canned statement. It's just empty rhetoric when we just sort of like, well, it's climate change. Well, I mean, fuck, dude. Like, yeah, crime is bad. It's a broad brushstroke. It's generalization. But in Australia in particular, like you see that as being like one of the primary causes of the fire. Then you'll see like these anomalies that would tie into, you argue, direct energy weapons, right? Drones with lasers on them. So you can't just have like them just like burning something and like for no reason. People will catch on. It's a psyop, right? So you wait for something to happen and then you can capitalize on it and then target these specific areas. So it's this these rail companies, light rail companies, that I think we're going to see them at the end of the 21st century really take a stranglehold on how we travel. But I think that's them laying the groundwork, and they're working with big military militant groups to get it done.
I feel like if we had more incentives for Americans to do it, because it's big in Europe and China and all that, like you can travel across mainland China like super fast in bullet trains, and mainland China is fucking gigantic.
Yeah, but well, here in America we have so many folks who are in rural areas, you know, like from what I understand, one thing that kind of sets us apart from other countries is that you know, out in rural areas and other places.
The Midwest is so wide open, dude.
Yeah. So like,
you don't realize as much till you get out there too. That's like, fuck.
Yeah, life, once you get past the Rockies, then you start like getting a window as far as like the frontier, and like, cause on the East Coast, man, everything's so condensed over here, dude.
It is. Even when you get out in like Kansas and stuff, you really start to see it. It's just like, fuck, dude. It's like you know, like I went to stop at I was on the interstate, and they're like, yeah, this exit, Dairy Queen. And I get off, and it's like, all right, Dairy Queen, 14 miles that way. You're like, fuck, so you gotta drive like 20 minutes off like the interstate to get to Dairy Queen. But I did it, because I went fucking to Blizzard for my boring ass drive through Kansas. But
I saw one hill in Kansas. We drove all through that mother. One hill, and it was a man-made hill, so it didn't even really count.
I mean, it's beautiful in its own right for like 10 minutes.
I wonder if like there's an ungodly amount of flat earthers in Kansas, because that's all they see.
I can see that. Oddly enough, a lot of pilots and astronauts come out of Kansas because they do a bunch of crop dusting.
I can see that.
Yeah, when I was driving through last time, there's several of them, like, you know, just be flying right down next to the interstate, and they come down like 10 feet off, and they'll roll out. And so I guess that's why there's so many pilots and people. There's like a training academy and stuff there for it. But I was thinking, it's like, man, makes sense. I guess they're all fucking little crop dusty flyboys out there, like.
There was a buddy of mine. One of my earliest jobs was I was a bus boy for a Texas Roadhouse.
I used to make their rolls. That was my first job.
Was it?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yep. I was the bread boy.
Holy hell.
I'm the bus boy, and I was the bread boy.
But there was a buddy of mine, Matt. He was older. I remember he was old enough to like buy alcohol and whatnot. So I was like 17 at the time, and he was taking flying lessons, like you know, here in Valdosta, and you know, he was able now to like fly solo, and like he could bring somebody up with him. So like he and I we were gonna go on a Wednesday and go flying, and I was like really excited, because I'd never I would get to sit in the cockpit, and like I've never had that experience. And then the day before was 9/11, and didn't get to go.
Didn't get to go. Thanks, terrorist.
I mean, not to sound selfish, but
well, what's the saying? Time plus tragedy equals comedy.
oh my God, that's a good saying. Time plus tragedy equals comedy.
Yep.
Good Lord.
I know, right? First time I heard it, I was like, fuck, that's good.
I think what always impresses me with
Anytime anyone's like too soon, I'm like, wait.
knock knock. Who's there? 9/11. 9/11 who? You told me you'd never forget. It's fucked up. That's cold.
It's fucked up. But my sense of humor is fucked up, so I'm used to it.
I mean,
I'm not trying to impress anybody at this point. If they can't hang, fucking get on the porch.
nah, man. At the end of the day, all I've got is like laughter, tears,
I know.
rage, or just being numb. You
So I
know?
tell people, I'm like, hey, I'm offensive. Get over it. If you don't like it, fuck off.
Yeah. You're insensitive. All right, don't listen. Like, people. It was like we were talking earlier about like people that would get upset over speech, and it's like, well, that's whatever it is. It's like that's hate speech. It's like, well, one, I think that's kind of that's a bullshit term, right?
Yeah.
You know, like if somebody's being a dick and saying foul things or bigoted things, then they're an asshole. Like I don't think like trying to put this notion of, well, it's hate speech. It's like, well, so much speech can be hate speech.
Yeah.
You know,
Who's to say at that point? You know?
Yeah, well, I tell you who's
censor?
not is the government.
Yeah.
Like the government is not to say. So like you can't draw a line. You know, you can draw a line for yourself because like I've said foul and offensive things.
Yeah,
You know,
just tell me, be like, hey, I don't appreciate that, and most time I'll be like, okay.
yeah. I mean, humor is also like it's my defense mechanism so many times, and it's a good defense mechanism I've learned.
It's hard for comedians these days.
Sister, you are preaching to the choir.
You can't tell jokes. Someone gets all pissy and like, it's offensive. It's like, well, then you shouldn't be listening to jokes in the fucking first place.
Yeah.
Offended.
Yeah.
Like if you can't take somebody's words with a grain of salt, like I don't. You have no worth to me. You have no opinion to me. You're fucking garbage. Fuck off. Like
Normally, just me. Call me old fashioned, but if you find the humor and comedic routines of the thought police to be funny, then oof. I don't know. It just seems like it's like canned laughter, right?
Yeah.
Or it's almost as if like you can if people are books, right, and you find some people that they're just an empty page of book or paper,
Yeah.
you know, either that or if we're all pieces of paper in the human story, then you'll meet people that like they're just blank pages. They're just dividers, separators.
Yeah. I'd want to be one of those fancy ass calligraphy
Oh,
Bible pages,
dude.
dude. The monks used to fucking train their lives to paint. Like,
Did you, man? One of my favorite albums ever is by a band called the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You might have heard of them,
I think so.
but
Sounds familiar.
Oddly enough, the album is One Hot Minute. It is not a John Frusciante album. It is the Dave Navarro album, as far as
Yeah.
the guitarist. Now, John Frusciante is a beautiful guitar player, like fantastic. But the fact that in the chronology, because Frusciante wasn't always in the Chili Peppers either. He came in, about 10 years after they were a band.
Flea and Ketis.
Yeah.
And the fucking
Jack Irons.
Chad Smith and the drummer.
I think Jack Irons may have been the first one, but then
was
Hillel.
there.
I think Hillel was like the original guitarist, and he like died.
Have you read the book Scar Tissue?
No, I have not. I heard it's
haven't.
really good.
It's amazing. You should definitely read it.
That's what's up.
He
But
talks about swallowing balloons of heroin and then going to Mexico and throwing them up, spending a week doing heroin, spend a week detoxing, fly back and fucking record an album. It's like fucking insane, dude. I don't know how he's alive. Like,
dude, on One Hot Minute, you hear the band at their most tortured. It's their heaviest album by far. It's also arguably probably their darkest album and like their most psychedelic album. It is not a. You listen to the difference between it and Californication. Californication is mastered where there is no peaks and valleys. It's just like poof, everything is loud, compressed to shit, and like it sounds like it's being played through a radio. You listen to One Hot Minute or even Blood Sugar Sex Magic, its predecessor, and like there's dynamics in the music, you know, like. But aside from that, One Hot Minute is arguably, I would find, Flea and Chad Smith's best record. Anthony Kiedis is his most tortured record because that's when he's at his lowest on heroin.
Yeah,
you know,
that was the time period.
Yeah,
for sure.
But the booklet for it in the jewel case, the lyric booklet, every song had its own page. It was like a story time, like a children's book. And all the lyrics were done in calligraphy, so you would see like the big like letter T for like the first word, then like ... or whatever, and often accompanied with like a little golden books kind of like image like in the corner of the design, beautifully like executed like design as far as like the graphic design of the album itself, and I miss that a lot.
I miss that a lot with music and CDs and albums. You don't get that on Spotify and shit these days.
No, and it's substituted like the endless orgy of sounds for that experience, and like how awesome it was like whenever like you would get an album and the music was great.
You didn't regret your purchase.
You didn't regret your purchase
over and over,
and the album art was gratifying as well. You know what I mean? Like I love that. Soundgarden, Super Unknown was like the first album that got me into wanting to be a guitar player, a songwriter, and a graphic designer. Like, because the booklet of that, like the every page, the font art as far as the body font was consistent. It was all caps, and it was just a what do you call it? Sans serif font, right? Meanwhile, they would be different colors on the page depending on the background image behind it, and the song title would be in different font art for every song, and it was beautifully done, like beautifully done. Like I always love that whenever like you open up an album, you could see like how much thought went into the whole package of it.
Yeah, I feel like we live in single society now. Everything's singles.
Kind of, because it is a single play. If you think about it, because everything's on your phone, right?
Well, it's like Oliver Tree. I love Oliver Tree. Like I don't know if you listen to Oliver Tree or not.
I've heard them.
The weird kid with the bowl cut and the glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love all this stuff. It's crazy. It's super out there. It's super just like slap in the face. Like what is this? But like,
and looks so quirky at the same time.
But I mean, all of his stuff has been singles. He even makes fun of it in one of his videos because they're like, it's the one where he goes and he like films it in the Ukraine or something and gets this tank, and there's a behind the scenes on like how I got this $1 million music video and my record paid for it, and it's like he's in character the whole time. You get to realize that eventually, but like it's so funny because like they're talking his record execs like, what's this guy need $1 million for? He's like, all he fucking does is release singles, like you know. But it's like they even like joke at it, but like he's fucking made all his money. I mean, he did like an EP, but like even an EP is a compilation of singles, really.
Yeah,
I don't. It's like an album, but it's like that's kind of where it's.
I think
shifting to.
I think the concept album is coming back. I think metal and hip hop have kind of kept it alive.
Yeah,
you know, alternative and like, trap music. I mean, it's not so much.
I think when I look at like the Oliver Tree like method, like if you're doing like. Because he's kind of in the realm of what I consider like alternative by today's standards. Alternative is such a huge blanket genre that like Mike Snow was like, I consider them alternative. Chet Faker.
I think it's a weird way to say not genre limited.
Pretty much. But I feel like the big thing moving forward for that type of music, which is kind of like what I classify myself in as an artist, because I have no fucking bounds, some's a little different. So I think the medium for that, moving forward seems to be singles with fucking eccentric music videos. Because like YouTube, Instagram, that visual, like if you have that visual pop, like I mean, like a Busta Rhymes, right, was doing like the shit he did back in the day. And Busta Rhymes videos were always next level, like visually.
Even if the song was not.
Yeah, he was on it, like visually with his music videos and stuff. So like,
oh man, the Give Me Some More music video. Song samples the riff from Psycho.
Yeah.
Like, that song's fucking
but it's like
dope,
if he did it today, like those would all probably be crazy videos done for singles.
Yeah.
You know, and like you can get that hype up because you get a cool video that's viral enough, like it's gonna share on Facebook and all that, like because people have that visual feed there.
Yeah.
But like then it's gonna track on and it's gonna give you success in like your plays on Spotify and stuff like that. Because the first time I heard about him was like the Alien Boy music video, and I'm like, what the fuck is this, dude? And then like I was in it. I was hooked after that because it was like so like visually expressive. And as someone that does video, like I love that. But there's a fuck ton of work that goes into making video.
Yeah,
People don't get it. Like film sets and stuff that I've like been on and worked on. I mean, you'll put in a 12-hour day for what'll turn out to be like 3 minutes of video, like in a TV show. You know, like I've worked on set for Yellowstone, and like I would say I've been on like 4 different sets for them. Some days are 2 sets, like 12 days Saturday, 12 days Sunday. So all said and done, I've probably put in maybe like 50 something hours, like being on sets just for little. And this is just like background work for Yellowstone, but that whole production goes through, and out of that, there's maybe 10 to 15 minutes of footage that's going to end up on the TV show. And these companies that come in have to pay for it, have to pay all the crew, they have to pay for all the gear rentals, they have to pay for all the extras. And even as an extra, I was making $150 a day. So you multiply that by 300 extras that you're bringing in for a fucking rodeo scene, like paying that on top of like all the crew, they're probably making at least 200 a day. PAs, which is like the lowest rung, they're probably making 150 a day. So it's like, you know, think how much money and energy goes into all that. It's kind of hard, but I love it. That's what I want to do. Pasha, like my landlord guy I work with out there, he does a ton of music videos. It's kind of like what his bread and butter's been. So we're trying to get into that more so too. And that's what I want to do with my stuff. I have like some stuff that I haven't released yet because I want to do videos for it, but I don't have the resources to do the videos.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't want to like release them without that added visual component, because I feel like that's what's gonna make them pop. So when it comes out, it'd be like fucking like a viral thing. But without one or the other, it's just like they don't have that momentum when they launch. And if you don't capture that momentum on launch, like it's hard to like proactively come back and like hype up your album 2 months after it's already on Spotify and stuff. So it's, you know, the logarithms and shit like that too.
It's a lot to consider. I think that's like one thing that like has kind of kept me like sort of like chill with this next record has just been like hey, you can't put it out right now anyway. Like if you do, it's going to be half-assed. And if you spent, you know, when you spend years working on like something, you definitely don't want to put it out half-assed. You know? Because then the idea is wasted, you know. And like I've done that before with songs when I was much younger, where like I thought it was like a good idea, and it might have been a good idea, but it was poorly executed at the time.
And now I look back on it, I'm like, I can't believe I put that out with my name on it.
Been there.
I know. Now somebody ever looks me up, I'm like, this is it. Fuck this guy.
I've kind of come to terms with that and the what would you call it? Popularity complex. I think that comes with you know, creating music or just like art by yourself. You know, like it's I've not found any greater release in purpose in life than from that. And from like investing time into something and like fine tuning it, and then like not only do I get that release, but like seeing whenever like like I see people that enjoy something I've created that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Like
when I enjoy it, that's how I feel good. Like the Venture like album I came out with, like it was kind of thrown together because it was just I mixed it, I mastered it, I did all of it. There's one or two tracks that are like louder and like it's not perfect, but like I'm glad that it's out there, and like I feel good about it because I see on Spotify like my friends and stuff every once in a while. I see like one of my songs come up and someone's listening to this and it's like, oh yeah, they're jamming to it, and like, but I can still put it on like when I'm driving my car, and I can jam out to it, and not in like a narcissistic way, like yeah I did it, but it's like, you know, you still enjoy it, and I think that is super important.
I think so too.
You make it for other people and you don't enjoy it.
Well, then you'll get shamed a lot of times by people that are just like oh, you must really be in love with yourself. It's like, well, aren't you in love with yourself and with your art?
You post pictures of your kids on Tinder profiles.
Yeah. You pontificate your beliefs on social media. You know, like don't you like enjoy yourself? No. Like I don't the music I've made that I don't like, I don't listen to. Yeah. I have, but like just because I have it in my collection, I have a lot of music in my collection that I just don't really like listening to anymore. Yeah. But sometimes if the mood strikes me, I've got it. You know what I mean? And plus, whenever it's something that I made, it shows me where I've been. You know, it shows me how far I've progressed.
Yeah, that's where I feel with a lot of my stuff now too. I can notice a definite increase, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's not like wasted time and wasted energy.
Exactly.
At that point, you're like, maybe this is going in, you know, when you see that growth, it's not like all for nothing. I think the hardest part for me as an artist and where I want to be is coming up with like a brand or an identity or like a logo or like, you know, that defining like, oh, this is what it is. Like I really liked your album, like the Colter, which is like that gray background and the big like hardcore text. It's like classy, but it's like looks official as fuck. But like it rings off your tongue, and like that works, you know. And
if you got if you zoom in, you look. There's a texture map that I added to it. You know, we had Photoshop classes together and whatnot, and we both realized like, oh, this dude's good. You know what I mean? Like when you look at somebody else, they're just
like, Mr. Mechanico's teaching us, and we're like, we got this, dog.
Yeah. we're the only two who showed up for class a lot of times. Fucking the one dude in the class, I remember we were filming, and he stopped filming while I was like falling for like it was like a gag scene. I had to fall, and then he like cut. He's like cool. He's like I didn't get all the fall. Like, why'd you stop? He's like, well, it was the end of the scene, right? It's like, well, you have to film what we do, and it's like just like that concept alone, like washed over him, like
super weird kid. I can't remember his name, but it's like really awkward. You know the one I'm talking about? It was it's like, how's this person function? And like, day to day, like, how do you? I don't get it. I know. I think I'm at the point because I did the first album under like Greenwell, because Greenwell was taken or something. I was like, I was gonna move my ass over here, and it's the most lazy fucking idea ever. And I'm like, yeah, that'll work. And I don't know why I thought it because I don't think it works. I hate the name that I used for my first album. And
I've never been too good with names. My proudest one that we did an album for my friend Alec and I. He's the guy eating cereal right there. Under the name Sodomy Hussein, and it was a 100% DIY album. So we had a studio in our home in Jersey. After we lost the fire, like we ran like an art studio and like a recording studio, and in our downtime, we worked on a concept album where we were like, let's make an album where it'd be impossible for us to perform it live. Like, just like the two of us, and like our drummer would, you know, come over, but I mean, like he wasn't like sitting down editing, mixing, or anything like that. He was, you know, he was contributing to composing the rhythm a lot of times. Yeah. But I mean, making the album, we did that all ourselves. So we did approached it from a big budget production, but with the DIY ethos, right? And I'm still proud of it. It's a rather schizophrenic record. So like the genres, sometimes they'll change song to song. Sometimes in the song itself, it'll change genres. It's profane, to say the least. I mean, it's sodomy Hussein. I mean, I was not allowed to get a Facebook page with sodomy Hussein. It was deemed, it got flagged for the profanity check or pornography check. And even I tried like spelling it differently, like Saddam E. Hussein. And no, it caught it as well.
Not working.
But I got that MySpace page, so.
Hell yeah. Thanks, Tom. No, I think moving forward, so it was weird. It's like back when I was in high school. I mean, whoever listens to the podcast will know, so I guess it's forever ruined on them. But to they're gonna look back on this and it's gonna expose my whole thing. But so like I used to write MMFG on everything, and it stands for Matt Motherfucking Greenwell. Right? So I think what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna make my artist name MMFG, but like my first album is gonna be like it's gonna be Make Me Feel Good is like the name of it, and then like my second album's like Masked Man Fights Giant, and I was gonna like Photoshop like a dude like throwing a Molotov and then superimpose like this giant boot like stepping down from the sky. But it's like make every album like it's MMFG, but don't ever like allure to the MMFG. Just like make it an acronym for everything's album, and then like maybe like the fourth or fifth album somebody gets it or something. And I was like, but it might be a subtle enough way to like get by with it. MMFG kind of works. You could probably make a logo and brand for that without being like too over the top. It rolls off better than Greenswell or whatever, and I'm like, maybe it's what I'll do.
Greenswell sounds like you would be a band at a Renaissance festival.
Yeah. But I want to do something that's kind of all-encompassing, because like I have some hip-hop stuff I want to do, but I also want to do some more like singer-songwriter stuff. So like I don't know how to like wrap that all up, and that's like the swirling ball of chaos as an artist that I've tried to deal with now.
I'll try to when I write, it's never like a consistent way how I write. So like sometimes I'll make back in Photoshop. Bible texture is on the cover. Completely went off in another direction. But sometimes I'll start with making like graphic design of fake albums and like just come up with titles and whatnot. And like sometimes the title will strike me and I'll hang on to it. So like there's a song on the record I'm working on now called A Candle for a Caged Bird. It comes from a line and it says, light a candle for a caged bird so it only sees the flame, not the cage. But like that whole song, like I came up with that phrase like probably 15 years ago, and like never knew like oh what kind of song is it or anything. Like I had like this image in my mind, but like I didn't know how to get there, and so it just started with just like a piano loop where I was like, all right, let's treat it like a hip hop tune and just see like what develops from having like a piano loop subtly dominate like the whole song. And then I got to a point where I was like, now I can go in and make minor changes where the loop will drop out and another key will come in, but only in these like very specific manners. But other songs I'm working on, there's a song called Waterfall that I have where I had I was on LSD and I took too much. I took two hits. Two hits standard is usually around 200 to 220 micrograms, right? You will get the effects. You'll have a good time. Maybe intense, but if you know what you're in for, then you're good to go.
Master Near, I'm ready for it.
But my buddy asked me. They were going to go out to the bar, And I was just gonna tag along. I wasn't there to drink or anything, but we were gonna taxi back, and I was gonna crash at my other friend's house. But my buddy asked me, did you take a whole or a half? And I was like, I took 2. He's like, oh. He's like, I don't know if I would have done that, but you're in for a treat. I'm like, why? He's like, those are 250 micrograms a piece. So I had half of a milligram of LSD, or 5 hits. And now I'm about to be like out in public. And so we're at a bar in Remerton, and like I can't even stand to be inside, man. Like I feel like
it's so nasty in there.
Like I just feel like I'm gonna get crushed by the walls, like like feeling the world caving in. And I'm just like, I want to be outside. So I'm out on like one of the porch, and my buddy is he's quiet, so he's not really helping me too much. So but at the same time, I'm kind of glad that he's not like talking my ear off, because like my visuals are out of this world beautiful, like fantastic. Like, and close my eyes, and the geometry that I see, like this divine, like geometry is just like colors are swirling, just fantastic. And he asked me how I'm doing, and I tell him I'm like no matter what happens, dude, I am okay.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
I can handle my
shit.
shit.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
I am not okay right now.
But then there, when you're just like, is this gonna end? Am I stuck like this?
But so as the night traverses, my one buddy that I'm staying with, he's hammered. He's like, well, you about ready? I was like, yeah, man, like as soon as you are, I'm good to go. So we get our taxi and like get back to his house, and I've got these tones, these chords going through my mind, and it's a drone that's going with the pulse of the geometry that's going through my closed eye visuals, and I can hear it, and I can't fucking sleep. I can't sleep, man. Like it's like. And anybody that's ever tripped before knows that like the music that you hear in your mind, like
I wish I could translate it.
Like it's beautiful. So
I can't ever focus on recording like while I'm.
Well, it got to a point to where like I had calmed down enough to where like okay, there's hardly anybody on the road right now. I'm gonna get in my car and I'm gonna quietly go home, because I need to go home, and figure out like these chords.
I need to go make music, damn it.
And like I'm sitting there and like at the computer on like the little keyboard, and like trying to figure out like fuck, where I can't figure it out. And I set like 3 hours, and now I'm coming like down like hard, and like my body's like, hey bro, we need to sleep. You have work tomorrow.
Save it and do it later.
But out of just sheer frustration, I take this guitar that I knew was in a different tuning. It was like a half a step down or something. So that's why I wasn't fucking with it, because I was like no, like I know these like chords.
There's
like
so many good albums that are like recorded in like E flat or some shit.
Yeah.
And there's like, oh. You try and play it on your normal guitar standard, and it's like sounds like garbage.
The last record that I did, most of it was half a step down, just to give it a tonal difference.
No.
But so I pick it up and I strum the first like chord just like out of frustration, and it's it. And then so now my fingers are like they found the muscle memory that's attached to that sound, so I can slide from that point and like hold that position to where it's like, okay, I bet that next one's a minor variation of it, and I figure it out. And like, so I had to build this song that I have, and it's like this epic song that I have, but it came from like that night, and like taking too much, but like being able to pull something out of it, and it was just 3 chords. And it's not even the whole song, but it's like.
Yeah. You saw the video I did for the Imaginary Lines song. It's all like the mirrored like drone shots, and it looks like fucking Inception and shit, and it's all like twisted and like trippy. I was tripping on acid, and I was like, man, I look cool. And then I start messing around with Premiere, and I'm mirroring all my drone footage, and I'm like, duh. And then I ended up like the next, because I only did I was tripping, so I could only do it for like 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
So I get like a 30-second little clip of how this looks, and then I'm like, the next day I fucking hit it from a fresh perspective, and it was like, so I think it's good to do. I definitely try and do it like every 6 months or so, 6 months to a year. I'm overdue for one now. Maybe I'll do it when I get back to Salt Lake, because I got time off work from my injury. I'll just fucking lock myself in my room.
Yeah, I don't recommend psychedelics and responsibility by any means at all. It's that's something you should do for like vacation or your Sabbath.
Yeah.
And even if it's on your Sabbath, I don't know if I would be using LSD to celebrate the Sabbath every week. I know, because I did that like in my later 20s, and like
it's too much.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you just gotta dip your toe in, and I want to do DMT. I haven't done that, and I have a couple friends out in Salt Lake that have it, and they told me I need to do it.
I've done it a couple times. It's intense. Yeah. It's weird. It's short-lived.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Ayahuasca, I have not done.
I could have done it this past weekend, but I had to come back to town for a funeral, so I didn't get to. But I had a friend, they were doing the Jaguar cult. We were doing it with all our artist friends, so we were going to do one night, or the first night we all come, we do our ayahuasca trip. The second day we have a workshop for us that's kind of like how we overcome the obstacles and barriers and like make it and be successful as artists. And then the third day was an event, but it was not, everyone was like running on fumes. I'm like, I mean, I wish I could have been, but like I was watching them all be like super tired, and I'm like, you know what? Good thing I couldn't make it, because I would have died. I would have been like exhausted.
It was hangover with psychedelics. Like, it's not really one. It's like you're just tired the next day, but like every time I've ever had a psychedelic mushroom experience, the next day I feel so grateful to be alive, and I'm like so happy.
Yeah.
And you don't get that from anything else. I found, except from like sometimes the nightmares that mushrooms can give you. Like the worst trips I've ever had have been on mushrooms, hands down. Like I've left my fucking body before on mushrooms, and then it was profound. And then when I tried to do it again, I did it again, man, and it was a nightmare.
The last time I think I had mushroom, it wasn't the last time, but one of the like the time before the last time probably. So I wanted to really try. So I got like 5 grams, dude, and I was like, I want to fucking.
It's a healthy dose.
I really want to get into
that's
it.
That's Terracicana said the heroic dose.
Yeah.
Dried 5 grams.
But have you ever tried to eat 5 grams of mushrooms?
I have, and succeeded.
That's a lot of mushrooms.
It is. They make me gag every time.
I throw up. Well, so here's what I did. I'm going to make them into chocolate. So I got a bag of fucking Hershey's morsels, like the little ones you melt down. And like, dude, I put all of it in because it's the only way I could get it like somewhat consistent where it still wasn't just mushrooms when it was all melted down. So not only did I eat 5 grams of mushrooms, but I also ate a whole fucking bag of Hershey's chocolate that they were melted into. So I'm like literally like all my friends are on the couch like comfortable and cuddly and like we're listening to music, and I am, that fucking position you get in when you're really sick where like you're kind of like your head's to the side and you're on your stomach so you don't like suffocate on your vomit.
Right.
Just like I was like, my stomach hurt so bad. All I could do was lay on the floor in that position. And then I would like run outside like every 15 minutes and try and dry heave and vomit it up. But like nothing would come out. And like my friends are just like, but the music was dope. Like the music was cool. Like when I was in there laying down, like my brain was like in a good spot. My body, not so much. But then I'm like dry heaving like... I can't do it, and there's like, dude, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm good, guys. I'm having a good time. I'm about to come back inside and listen to some more music in a few minutes. Like, I'm there. I'm fucked up, like dying from chocolate poisoning. But I'm just like, no, it feels pretty good. Put the Emancipator song back on.
I learned that if you do the chocolate properly, and you cook it with butter and whatnot, and then you can filter out some of the bigger chunks of like the mushrooms, or you can like grind it down, food processor or whatever. But
I just powderized it. And...
that'll do it. But if you get a good consistent mixture going on, what happens is the your stomach doesn't have to break down this thick, fibrous, dried, grassy fungus. Now it just has to dissolve these little bits of chocolate and butter and mushroom dust. So like a mushroom chocolate like will hit in like 30 minutes or less. Yeah. It's like speedy delivery, you know what I mean? Versus if you just eat them dry, like about an hour or so.
I put it in like a 11x7 like baking dish to dry, and I basically just chomped through this fucking brick of fucking mushroom filled chocolate chunk, dude. It was just like breaking off the I had to like force it down. It was like the worst experience ever, dude. And it was in like one
can't imagine like
it was
that
like
much
one of those
chocolate.
grimy ass fucking downtown Valdosta houses, you know, like by the college, like with fucking rats in them and shit. Like ours wasn't as bad. We didn't have rats, but it was still kind of like an old dingy fucking college house, you know, and like, ugh.
Years of people just saying, fuck it, I'll just lose the deposit, and
sometimes I wonder how I'm like still alive. It's like, fuck, dude, shit was crazy.
Well, I experimented with drugs a fair amount in my 20s, but get older and it's like, hey, some of these things are detrimental, and some of these things they do cause damage to the community. I still don't think people should be locked up for possessing it, but
can't do cocaine anymore. Like, it used to be like fun, man. It'd be like, fuck yeah, we're ripping lines. Now, dude, I'll rip a line and I'm like sitting down in the corner like, am I about to die? Like, is my heart fucked? Like, oh shit. So like now I'm just like, nah, on the drugs. I'll take some weed, make some acid every once in a while. But
yeah, after like 6-7 years of like amphetamines and like getting off of that, like I don't miss that shit at all, dude. Like that was, and like same thing will happen. Like I'm not a pro cocaine guy or anything. I still think it should be legal. I mean, when my grandmother was a little girl, like if you had a toothache, you could go see like a pharmacist, for lack of a better term, and you could get cocaine toothache drops. It's a local anesthetic, you know. I think more damage is done by it being illegal and incentivizing criminals to take control. Yeah.
Well, like look at the vape cart thing with the fucking weed. It's like most of the places that are having problems with people getting sick from illegal THC cartridges are states where it's not legal. Yeah. Like you don't go to Colorado and buy fucking dope ass like fake carts, you know, because you can go to any fucking store all over the state and get them from like a regulated system that has like checks and balances to make sure they're not pumping you full of fucking vitamin E or insecticides and shit. So it's like
I don't like it at all, our drug laws. I think it should be illegal to be if you sell to minors, you know, and not folks that get coal out of the ground by mining. I mean, persons under the legal age. I don't want to seem insensitive to the mining community. Now I think I should apologize for defending the mining community, because that would be supporting fossil fuel industry.
Hey, you can't win. You can't win.
Can't be woke enough.
I know, dude.
Damn the luck.
We should run our fuel industry on cow farts.
Oh God.
Yeah. Trap the methane and use it.
What were we just talking about before cow farts? Fuck. The drug laws and stuff. But like if you sell to like kids, like that should be a crime. Like no, you should be punished for that.
Well, yeah, I support like recently they've raised the tobacco age to 21. Yeah, I think it's nationwide, right? Yeah, I'm cool with that. I mean, but I'm already 21, so I don't give a fuck. You can raise the driving age to 21 for all I give a fuck. Make them shits wait.
I mean.
But imagine if they gave them all fucking driver's license and they could fucking buy alcohol and do everything at the same time. Where it's like, 21. Yeah. Good luck.
Well, it's interesting. They'll you're old enough to do certain things, but not other things, right?
Yeah.
So like it's always seems to be kind of situational with them because sometimes you're old enough to just be put away in jail for the rest of your life, you know.
Whenever it's convenient.
Yeah. Whatever the mob.
Hey, we
wants.
need people to go fight in a war. You're 18, works with me.
Yeah. Though it was interesting seeing like so many people buying into like media panic like in 2020, you know, like World War III, you know, coronavirus, and the more that comes out about the coronavirus, it's like, hey man, a lot more people seem to be dying of the flu right now. Shouldn't we be a little more concerned with that? And like, I mean, I'm just as guilty for like thinking like oh shit, that's some serious stuff. But as more and more it's looking into it, it's like, hey man, this kind of just looks like more fear propaganda that they seem to
always something.
Yeah, they seem to have a cycle of it as well, like around election cycles where it's a new fear.
It's like there's a thing, a meme I posted earlier. It's some movie. They're on the bus. He's like, "Hey, it's like the U.S. government is this kid. He's like, hey, I need you to cause a distraction." And this other kid turns around. And he's like, he's got media on his forehead. And he's like, "We're all gonna die." Like yeah, that's it. It's spot on.
It's true though, man. And like I'll there are definitely certain people on the that are friends of mine that are on the progressive left, that they are good people and their ideas as far as their political beliefs, they are aimed in a good direction.
They mean well.
Yeah. I just tend to disagree with them on some things, and most of them are. If I were able to sit down with them face to face and not through a screen and be a keyboard warrior, we could communicate a lot more efficiently. And like you're not
text-based communication's horrible.
Yeah,
Trust the communication major.
Well, because tone has to be inferred for one thing. You're not looking at somebody in the eye. You're not having the sound of their voice itself. That the human voice does something to us in our brain. So I try to make sure that I never want to come off as aggressive or antagonistic rhetorically, because there's a friend of mine that she had posted something talking about a moral dilemma for people on the left currently with Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders and the race. Obviously a lot of people on the left kind of have tempers flaring sort of anyways when it comes to politics, so it's a extremely volatile post that she has going on. And somebody had posted on there something about Joe Biden being a pederast or exhibiting qualities that
I went to the same thing on someone else's post, completely unrelated, which is funny. And
me personally, I believe that he is a predator. You know what I mean? It's there's a difference between somebody doing something predatory and somebody having a consistency of predatory behaviors. You know what I mean? And that's just my personal belief. Like, whoever people want to vote for, it's not election day. So with me, it's like I haven't heard any of the debates. I haven't heard anybody debate the sitting President Trump yet. I think they're supposed to have 3 of those. So before any of that comes in, I mean, with me, no, I want to promote the idea of, hey, let's listen to the dialogue. Let's hear what people have to say, and let's try to be calm about it. And let's also exchange ideas other than this empty rhetoric of orange man bad, orange man good. It doesn't do anything.
Somebody called Joe Biden a pedophile in that post, and the dude that was supporting Joe Biden, he was like, basically his response to that person saying that he was a pedophile was, "Fuck you." And then they tried to say something else, and they're like, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you." And I didn't even know this person, but I had to chime in. Like, dude, you're so well informed.
Yeah.
How are you gonna change anyone's mind with that? That dude's definitely not a pedophile.
I think it was Socrates who said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he who insults has already lost the argument, more or less.
Yeah.
So Like you're not being tolerant to people's point of views, and that you're labeling it as like, well, that's again hate speech, or like that's a bigoted idea. It's like, bro, like you're assuming what the idea. Well, because they're assuming what the idea is. So again, I think it kind of ties in with media bias, right? Like people have been fed a program. Same way if folks watch Fox News and nothing else, they're being fed a program, right? Mm-hmm. But people don't want to think it's happening with the left's media companies because there's so many of them. But it totally is. It totally is. And it's orange man bad versus orange man good. Mm-hmm. It's partisanship. It's this idea of freezing something and polarizing people over it that, it's part of radicalism. And then when you do this, you can say that everybody that agrees with me is morally just in our ideology. Everyone outside who disagrees.
So us versus them.
Yeah. And going back to, what was the guy's, I pull out my post-it notes here. The guy earlier.
H.L. Hunt?
H.L. Hunt. H.L. Hunt in the 20th century, he was a Democrat from Oklahoma. And he donated money to the Nation of Islam, to the Ku Klux Klan, to the Black Panthers, and to the American Nazi Party. He donated money, ridiculous amounts of money, to all of these conflicting parties in order to promote divisiveness amongst the country. It's a tactic that people use. And on this post of Joe Biden, where somebody was like I'm not voting for him, and then it turned into, well, I mean, fuck if he's my only option because he's a never Trumper, right? Yeah. So. And like I get people that are, but I still like to have dialogue with any of those people. You know what I mean? Because there's common ground there. You know, we shouldn't be partisan about this kind of stuff. We should be objective about it. But I had shared Paul Joseph Watson video of Creepy Uncle Joe. It's a very infamous video of Joe Biden. It's about 11 minutes long, and it shows not only accusations that we all know about, that we see like the famous meme photos and whatnot, but it shows a particular I don't know what you call it. It's a press conference for something, right? And how he acts with multiple children, and then multiple teenagers, and he's exhibiting predatory behaviors, right? So I posted that, and I was like, hey, take this, with a grain of salt, but here, and she had responded back that oh, she's like, I've seen a bunch of stuff about it. She's like, I don't like it. It's like part of like what she's talking about with this dilemma. She gives a very thoughtful retort, but to the point where it was so soon that I know she did not watch the video, right? Yeah. So I kindly reply back that it's like, yeah, it's like it mentions a lot of things in here. And some of the scandals as well tied to them. It's 11 minutes. It's definitely worth your time and consideration to everyone for that matter. But I'm told her that I'm not trying to propagate you. I promise. She's like, oh, I know. She's like, you've always been very respectful with your beliefs and sharing ideas on her posts, because I like her. She's a fantastic artist. She's a good person, and she's intelligent. It's just I disagree with her politically, But then, so these other people start chiming in of just getting mad at her, like Kelly, I cannot believe that you would defend this trash for being posted blah 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 blah. And I was like, hey dude, if anything, you should be directing it at me, not this friend of mine. You know what I mean? And she again replied not in a confrontational manner. She doesn't use profanity or anything like that. That's how I try to operate as well, and that's how we all should operate, and just try to approach it as just all right, you have to infer all the tone I'm talking about, so let's put up front that I'm being polite here. I'll usually say I'm playing devil's advocate, or I'm just being polite, but offering that there's a counter argument to whatever meme or post that you're have on social media, and I think a lot of folks on the left are kind of triggered by that, and especially right now with Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, because what's happened is this idea of polarization is now turning in on itself, because The right is like not even concerned at all. All they're
They
doing
don't
is
give a shit.
all that. No, all
They
they're
know
doing.
they got it. Like,
Yeah.
at this point, I mean, that's where it's at. Like,
Well, because like I think, as we were talking earlier, as far as the cult of personality, like Joe Biden, aside from all that, he exhibits signs of dementia.
Yeah.
Like my grandma's got dementia and Alzheimer's. Like so, it's even difficult for me to even watch like some of the stuff.
You can see it.
Yeah. Like so, we were talking about that earlier, but with the cult of personality,
At least
with
Bernie Sanders like is competent.
yeah, I mean, well, he's not consistent with everything, but he's there are a few things like that his core principles, like he's stood by, you know.
You can respect that if nothing else, because even Trump hasn't done that. You
No.
can look back. I watched an interview with him on David Letterman in 1987, and he's talking about the country's fucked up because we're not investing in social programs and fucking low-income neighborhoods and fucking the housing market and shit. Like all the things that his party now is against. Yeah, it's just like,
Well, what they're
crazy
against
to
is
turn.
because within Bernie Sanders' camp, you've got people that they want democracy and they want their social programs to help people.
Yeah.
That's not the same as socialism.
Yeah.
Socialism is where you give the government the means of production, and
the narrative's been so skewered
well,
by either side.
the thing is with far left ideologues like democratic socialism. It's like Lenin even talked about this. It's just a word. It's a tool. It's a tool in order for the totalitarian tiptoe of socialism, and then you have communism. So once you have communism, then you have big government control. So like the problem with Sanders is that while I agree with a lot that Bernie Sanders talks about as far as like social programs, like what FDR did as far as social programs.
Yeah.
But there's also like we shouldn't hold FDR up as a saint. I mean, he was also putting Asians in internment camps, you know, and so it's the left people that are truly on the left. There seems to be a problem of not recognizing like their own devils. You know what I mean? And folks on the right, they'll. It's really easy to point out when somebody's like, "Well, that guy's an asshole," you know, like a religious zealot or someone who is what would you call it, supremacist, ideological or ethnic supremacist. You know, they tend to be on the right, and then the left, they tend to be like the ideological supremacy is still there.
Yeah, exactly.
But they have it under the guise of it's the compassion thing, and we defend those that that are marginalized and nobody else will defend. It's like,
but a little marginalization, fucking. I mean, it's like that's fucking life. That's how it happens. Like, I mean, unfortunately, but like you can't eliminate that no matter what. And that's what people. Utopia doesn't exist. Things are gonna be shitty. And I think people just need to get the fuck over it and realize that.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
Aspire for greatness, but like understand like the fucking realities of human beings and human society. There are constraints that we're never gonna escape. We're still rats. We're still gonna fight and tear ourselves apart, and we don't want to, and there's an overwhelming amount of good. I was talking to a friend about this the other day, how there's evil, there's bad, there's always going to be bad things, but there's always going to be prevalent good. Like on the overarching whole, there's more good than bad in the world. But the bad actions always scream out over the constant good that exists in the world. The good people lifting people up and things like that. And we're polarized and stuff, and we're interconnected. But you look at a lot of the things that happened back with the First World Wars and even the wars throughout history. A lot of that stuff has come down to communication and lapse in messages, and it may take fucking 2 days to get a message from point A to point B, but now we're so instantly connected, which is I think our saving grace, and was gonna keep the finger off a World War III trigger, is because before everything can escalate to a certain point, people across the globe are aware of what's going on, and they can be like, oh no, this is not gonna fly.
You don't have the monopoly of information like you used to have. So back to the the socialism point with Sanders. He has folks in his group that they're all about authoritarian regimes. So like Linda Sarsour, like she's pro Sharia law, and she's like defended it like on numerous occasions. We don't want that, and this idea of like, well, Muslims have been marginalized in this country. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. Individuals have been marginalized in this country. The Islamic religion is not marginalized at all. Like, they have a specific part of the world where the religious right is Muslim, and what they do in their countries is not good. So her being in support of that, I'm not a fan of. There's also like Bernie's age as well. He just had a heart attack, you know. So I think they might possibly kill Bernie Sanders in order to stop his movement. If they don't, and say he does get elected, he's not going to live a full term as president, which means another DNC puppet will come in and take the place. So, and both of their candidates are like that. Meanwhile, on the Trump side, some of my biggest critiques with him has nothing to do with his rhetoric or his cult of personality. I don't like him doing business with Saudi Arabia. I think they're like, this idea of it's all, the economy's good. We don't necessarily need that kind of money.
We've turned a blind eye to the fucked up shit they do just because like oil money and stuff for forever.
Yeah.
They're fucking, they're just as fucked up. They're spitting out just as many terrorists as Iran, but we're made to lead the Iran's the problem. But if you looked at Iran, like in the fucking 70s, before we went and fucked up the whole Middle East, Iran was like fucking right on board with like most fucking first world countries.
Yeah.
Like it was
what happened?
Day.
Yeah, what happened is we went in there and tried to have a coup, and then the religious right came in and had a coup of their own, and they're like, nah, fuck that. We got the country, and now, boom, everybody goes to church, everybody worships the same.
It's fucked.
Yeah, like government overreach is bad idea, and imperialism again, like it's a bad idea. Here's an interesting argument I've come across for Trump, and in particular, the one of, if not the most controversial thing, the wall, right? So. And I've heard many arguments for like why we should and should not have a wall, and my personal belief is if that community that lives there wants a border wall, that's their prerogative. Period. They live there. If they want it and it's a problem there, then why can't they have it? Why can't they have it? So
I think their local governments for those townships and areas should be able to put in for like if they want grants or something, or like that should be a thing. But I don't think it should be like a mandatory boop throwing it everywhere. But like in the sections where they want it, fine.
Yeah, and that's
the other
how it's being built.
Increase policing, and because like no doubt, like you don't just want people just unregulated coming into your country. Like,
we have a human trafficking problem. There's nobody heard about Jeffrey Epstein and like all that shit that's going on in MS-13. Like, so these are things. While the president may be an asshole, like there's things that he has said. If you look past the hyperbolic rhetoric,
look past your feelings and look at some.
You got to view it objectively, right? So like Trump is a symbol for so many people's hatred, where they can't look past the person and start looking at like
the issues.
And the bigger idea. So the argument with the wall that I found to be the big head scratcher for a lot of people, as far as like me saying like I think there's a good thing with it, is that it demonstrates that imperialism, American imperialism, as far as conquering other lands, is done. We are not putting the message forward of we're going to spread and conquer even further, because that's what we did for it's like since Manifest Destiny. And
it's like now we're stacking up, don't fuck with us.
So like
all
this stuff. And it also it demonstrates to Mexico as well that like, hey, you're your own sovereign country too. Like we're not going to take you over or anything like that. So if you agree with the notion that imperialism and colonialism, like in the modern scope of it in the world, especially from America, is bad, which like I would agree with that, then the wall it's a symbol for that. It sets a standard that says, no, we're done with this ideology of we need to go out and conquer. That's globalism. When, again, going back to talk about the British Navy earlier, whenever one country or one group or corporation or whatever, if one entity controls the whole planet, that's a bad thing. If nobody's ever watched cartoons or read comic books before, the villain wants to take over the world.
Yeah.
That's a bad fucking thing. So, and I've found that argument, when it comes to like the wall and the president, like can really pump the brakes for a lot of people, that because they get triggered, right?
Yeah.
Whenever you defend the president anyway, and because again, like if you're going to be objective, you have to be objective. You know what I mean? And
yeah, look at the good and the bad. Can't just be bad all the time.
Right.
Sometimes I watch them and I'm like, shit, he's right. Fucking asshole's right.
Well,
you know?
as Joe Rogan talked about, he's a comic. He's the first stand-up comic to become president. Like, that's fucking saying something. Mm-hmm. And like, I think it's a good idea the president has a Twitter account. You don't have to go through
the only line of defense.
Yeah. You don't have to go through the news, which clearly anybody that if you watch the president speak, like the whole speech. Like, he'll speak for normally no less than an hour.
He goes.
Yeah.
He's in it when he's up there. He loves it.
And then you'll see news will play like a 30-second clip, or sometimes even less, like a 5-second clip, just to get you outraged. Yeah. So it's back to this fear propaganda and Operation Mockingbird, where they just want people to be reactionary and not to think about certain things. So I think as far as the election goes, hey, we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? But as far as for folks on the left,
I won't vote for Joe Biden. I'll say that.
I won't vote for Biden.
I don't think he's competent enough.
And Bernie Sanders, I don't know about, because if he's running on the DNC ticket, I'm not voting for a DNC candidate. I'm just not. I'm not. I think the party is. I was talking with my buddy Ted. I think it's the problem.
If they screw him out of it this time, he better go independent. He has to.
He has to set the standard. It's not about. It's not about his role in the story, if that's what he's concerned with, rather than the story itself. Like, he can be the person that sets the standard that says, like, hey, fuck a two-party system. Look at this. You can run independent, and you can do some damage. He should have done that in 2016,
because if he ran, it'd pull the whole... It'd be a kind of cluster then. It'd be interesting.
Yeah. And I think it would be necessary for American politics in the long run. It would be better for us in the long run. And it would do a lot for populism. That's what it's all about, man. It's about like whatever's going to benefit us, the citizens, the most, and what we want. And what we want is we want things to get better.
Yeah.
Well, shit, man. We got about 3 hours on this bad boy.
We fucking cranked it on this one. Talked about all kinds of shit. It's a roller coaster ride. That's life.
This has been a good one, man.
Yeah.
Talking about a myriad of things, from fucking being adult, being stupid, reckless young adults, politics.
It's a good one.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much, Matt.
No problem. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Later, everybody.